Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, kicking off a brand new week here. And man, what a week it's going to be, starting off talking about Megalodon. Megalodon. Yeah, you know I'm thrilled about this one. Woohoo. All right, Max Hawthorne will be here momentarily. Then in hour number 3, Tim Senor will be back as well. How are you guys doing? Hope you had a great weekend, including our medalists for tonight. And be in the gold medal position, Race Fan with a silver, and Tim Mothman with a bronze medal tonight. His goatee also with a bronze. Michael Morris, Forrest Louis, Robert Lamoth, Roy Boy, and Kevin. How y'all doing? Brown Dwarf, Deer Slayer, Monica, and Cowboys 5 Rings. How y'all doing? Kurt M., thanks for coming on in. Luffy Pirate is here. Luffy Pirate will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio if you don't mind. To the left of the studio. Stephanie Kenny Blankenship and the gorgeous Amy W.C. How you both doing? Lori Bell, thank you for kicking off the super chat tonight, Lori. We very much appreciate your great support of SOR, so thank you. And Steph Dickey, welcome back. Steph Dickey will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, to the right of the studio. Long Island Bigfoot, Sabrina, Gizmo, Free Your Mind, D. Cohen, thank you all for coming on in. Susie B., what's happening? Light Walkers, good to see you. And the lovely and talented Kira. Yes, it's Shark Night. Yes, it's Shark Night, Kira. Yeah, I'm going to have nightmares all friggin' night long, thanks to Max. Paramarv, nice to have you back. And who else do we got here? We have Luscious Jules. And who else? Scrolling on down. Rain, nice to see you. Millennium, my man. How's it going? As we continue on with roll call. Roger Murray, what's happening? And let's see here. What else is going on here? Scrolling on down. Stargazer, Laura Lobbs, and Lee the Bee. Nice to see you. And let's continue on. Sandra Kincaid, Pixie Lara, thank you. I love this toque. Love it. Justin Hemmingson, Nick Adkins, good to have you here. Aunt Edna and Dogface Simon, thank you for joining us. Hello there, Penny Van. Jessica S. Javier from Cryptid 559, what's going on, my man? The lovely and talented Cosmic Fleur. Jimmy 999X, welcome to SOR chat. As we continue on with our roll call. Anthony, what's going on? Digger Dog, good to see you. Forrest Louis, thank you for getting into the super chat action. Very much appreciate you. Love and support my man each and every night. You're always here, my man. Thank you. Stephen Edmond, what's happening? 1 week, for less than a week, like 5 days from the Vetter, man. 5 days from combat fishing on the Vetter. I love it. Sarah Yan, how you doing? Desert Rat, JSCO, Oob to Joe's Maine, you've got great whites. Road Flare, thanks for coming on in. Welsh Hammer, Nina Williams, Doug Shelby is here. The Doug Shelby has arrived, which means we can officially start this show. We've opened up the other chat room, so Bill WD40 can lube us up for tonight's show, because you always want to go into a show nice and smooth. You know what I'm saying? Especially when Max is around. Okay, continuing on. Let's see, where else are we? Canlin, welcome to SOR chat. And who else is here? Mike Rivers. Good to see you, my man. And scrolling on down. Keep scrolling, Dave. Susan Alloway, nice to have you back. Neoma Finn, open to doubt. Welcome to SOR chat. Our favorite Marine, Black Dragon. Good to see you. We love our veterans around here. Guy Calgary, good to have you back. And who else is here? Dino Bravo fan. And who else here? W. David Page, thank you for joining us. Watching the time. And Ayumi Doll, always a pleasure to have you here. 9 seconds before we launch. Hi, Beelzebrad and Susan Goff. How you doing? Horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. The old Navy, the favorite, hit that subscribe button. You can follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon at the SOR Space Travelers Club. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. A power show of info tonight. We head to the oceans where author, researcher, movie director Max Hawthorne joins us with Kronos Rising and the thought that Megalodon still lives. Then in hour number 3, Steve Stockton has another great story for us from Among the Missing, followed up by little Timmy Senor and the UFO Report. Max Hawthorne is an author and screenwriter referred to as the Prince of Paleofiction. He is best known for his Kronos Rising series of sci-fi suspense thrillers, which have garnered Book of the Year and People's Choice Awards. He is the #1 Amazon best-selling author of the cryptid research book, Monsters and Marine Mysteries, as well as Memoirs of a Gym Rat, an outrageous expose of the health club industry, and the children's book, I Want a Tyrannosaurus for Christmas. But tonight, it's about sharks. And if you know me, if you listen to this show long enough, you know that as much as I love sharks, you will never, ever see me step and put a pinky toe in any type of salt water whatsoever. And it's because of this man, and I blame him well. Max Hawthorne, thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio again. How are you?
I am great, and I'm sorry that I prevent you from going in the water.
No. Don't be afraid. See, I'm a meal. Okay, I'm not just some, thin-bodied person like yourself, where you walk along the beach and you're okay. There's no meat on the bone. Okay, you look at me. Okay, there is a lot of meat on the bone, my friend. And if I stip that pinky toe right in the water, that fin is going to come out just like that, and I'm gone. I'm gone just like that.
Reminds me of in Brooklyn, the old days, they would have said you were all that in a bag of chips. And sharks can't turn down a nice Happy Meal with a bag of chips. So I guess you're right.
Well, I'm not taking a chance, man. I am not taking a chance. And you know what's funny is when I was a kid, I remember when I was 7 years old, my sisters forced me to sit down and watch Jaws. Okay. And that, honestly, to this day, man, I could be swimming in a swimming pool and I will literally hear the da-da, da-da, da-da if I'm alone in the pool. and I'm just looking at the deep end or the shallow end, waiting for that fin to come out, man. I am that traumatized by sharks. But on the flip side, I love sharks. I do. I don't want them. It sickens me the way humanity treats them in the ocean. Okay, they are such a beautiful animal and or a fish, I should say, and it's just not for me. I don't want to take that chance because if anything happens, it always happens to me, my man.
So you were only 7 when Jaws came out,
Oh, I was no. That's when my sisters forced me to watch it. That was about 1980. They forced me to watch it.
and you were only 7 then?
Yeah. Well, how old do I? I'm not 60 or 70 or 80.
I'm older than you by a long shot. Oh my God. Well, that's okay. It's that incident in the cemetery with that thing with the fangs, all that stuff. So,
I hear
we'll
you.
talk about that another time. But anyway,
Max, you come on about every 6, 8 months on this show, and we love it when you
mhm.
were here because you scare the daylights out of me each and every time. But you have a beautiful fascination with sea monsters, and you're one of the best in the world when it comes to writing and researching about them. What about the sea attracts you?
Well, I guess it's kind of like the Forrest Gump thing. You drop, for example, some bait in there, you never know what you're going to get. First time I went fishing as an adult, I had that experience with my dad in a lake in Connecticut. You were catching fish, 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 and all of a sudden something huge, boom, grabs your lines and you're fighting to try and stay in the boat. So I mean, on the ocean, it's infinitely worse. I mean, you God forbid go down, like your ship goes down, your boat goes under, whatever. You're floating around in a life preserver. You're like a top water bait, honestly. I mean, and there are some incredible things out there, down there, so much more than people have seen. I mean, like I personally once saw a dead loggerhead turtle about 20 miles off the coast of New York, the New York coastline. We were out shark fishing and we ran up on this dead turtle. It was upside down. I don't know if it died of old age or was hit by a ship or something like that. But this thing dwarfed the world record, which is like 1,200 pounds. This thing was literally the size of a Volkswagen Beetle.
Wow.
I mean, gigantic. The carapace, the shell, just the shell alone was like, I don't know, 6 or 8 feet long. And it had to be a yard thick. And it was gigantic. 2,000 pounds, 3,000 pounds. I have no idea. We just stopped. We looked at it. There was no sharks munching on it. So we kept going. But
Oh, wow. I remember a buddy of mine who I used to work with. He was fishing in the Pacific Ocean off Vancouver Island one day where, in the late 90s, there was actually about close to 20-foot great white caught off the coast
mhm,
of a small fishing town called Bamfield.
mhm,
And the reason why I bring this up is my buddy was fishing and all of a sudden something hit they're using 250, 300-pound test braided line,
mhm,
and something hits his rod, takes off, spools about 500 yards of line on 1,000-yard reel, snaps
mhm,
it, and then comes back 2 seconds later, grabs his buddy's line, does the same thing. And they never saw it, but they asked the boat captain and the fishing guide, what was that? What could have that have been? They said, I don't know, shark, whale, submarine. You never
the
know.
Kraken.
The ocean has many secrets that she
Mhm.
will never give up. That is for sure.
It could have been a very, very large squid also. They're so powerful. I mean, when they jet, like a Humboldt squid is like catching a wahoo or something of comparable size. So, and I mean, I've read incidents where like one time a guy was bottom fishing and something enormous grabbed his bait and started walking along the bottom. And they finally decided it must have been an immense octopus, but they couldn't move it. They couldn't pull it up at all. All they could do eventually, I think they had to just cut their line. There was nothing, you couldn't move it. There's also a story, I believe it involves Jacques Cousteau many years ago, where they had to put a shark cage out with a freshly killed camel inside of it. I read this online, and something attacked the cage and destroyed the cage to get at the camel carcass that was inside and all that. And they had cameras on the outside of the cage. And people were like, "Oh, Megalodon, this and that." But rumor has it that it was an incredibly large octopus, but that the footage has never been released. That's the rumors that I've read online and seen, etc. And that would make sense because an octopus could, literally grab something like that and crush it and pull it apart. So, but it would take a very, very, very big octopus, like one of the Krakens in my Cronus Rising novels or something.
We talk about Megalodon, we talk
Hmm.
about Kraken and other sea monsters that have, been made throughout the years of legend and folklore. From Kraken taking down sail ships to, Megalodon still being sighted out there, the size of submarines and the length of submarines during world wars. There's a lot of stories and folklore out there,
Hmm.
even going on YouTube these days, where people tend to believe that they have filmed the legendary Megalodon. What is the chances in and I know that the ocean, we've studied less than 10% of it. We know more about the moon, we know more about Mars than we do our own ocean. But what about these magical creatures? And it doesn't just have to be Megalodon or the
Hmm.
Kraken, but everything from mermaids to all sorts of different creatures that are out there. Maybe dinosaurs.
So you're asking, like, what are the odds of things like that still
Yes.
existing?
Yeah.
I mean, well, actually, when I did Monsters and Marine Mysteries, I did a lot of research on the ocean, and I believe, at least at that point, as a few years ago now, only 5% of the ocean floor has been explored. That doesn't include the average of 11,000 or so feet of water above the ocean floor. So, I mean, the statistically speaking, the odds of very, very large marine animals being out there, down there, et cetera, it's an almost certainty. If people right now in the chat are interested in seeing evidence of a mega shark, if you go on my YouTube channel after the show, and you can find it by just Googling at Real Max Hawthorne, and that'll take you through Google right to the YouTube channel. The second to the last documentary that we did on there is a piece called Mega Shark or Megalodon. And this documented the carcass of a subadult humpback whale around 30 feet long that was found floating off the coast of Briar Island in the Bay of Fundy. It's Canada.
Yes.
And the whale was covered with bites, and then it washed ashore. It was first photographed by Amy Tudor, who is a whale watcher out there, naturalist, and then her husband found it when it made landfall, or whale fall, I guess we call it landfall, and he started sending me videos, and I was like, whoa, back that up, hold on. And the whale had two bites on it that we could see that were 3 feet across. So to give you an idea, Bruce the shark from Jaws would have a bite width of about 26 inches. And this was at least 36 inches across. So using the most conservative formula out there, it suggests a shark at least 32 feet in length. And that's a big, big shark. So, I mean, there are still some mega sharks out there. And that's basically proof positive. You can see the bite actually has tooth notches and areas around it and stuff. And the fresh one, when she photographed it at sea, is incredible. I mean, you could see individual. You like the special effects? There's no charge for that, by
That
the
was
way.
that was beautiful. That was
Thank you.
beautiful. Thank you.
But anyway, so the point is there are gigantic sharks out there. In fact, in 2017, this was just July of the not this past year. This past July, I'm sorry, it was like last year. So only a year or so old is this evidence. And in 2017, Simon Pierce, the marine biologist, he photographed a 40-foot whale shark off the Galapagos Islands, and this was covered in my book, Monsters and Marine Mysteries. So people, if you guys get a chance, check it out. But and the whale shark had an approximate 48-inch bite taken out of it, and that's even bigger. And that is also, by the way, in the video on the YouTube channel, so definitely give it a watch when you get a chance. So you're talking, there is evidence out there of predatory sharks exceeding 40 feet in length
That
based on
is
this.
would those be considered like a super great white? Is that what it
Well, I
would
mean,
be?
I had to do a lot of research myself to try and figure out what it was. The great thing about Simon's pictures, he sent me some amazing Uber HD photos that I could blow up and I mean like full screen and stuff. And you could see individual tooth grooves in the scarring there, which shows you two things. First, it shows you the type shape of the teeth that took that giant bite out of that whale shark. And it also shows you that that bite is not something that happened when the whale was young and grew, etc. That bite is probably maybe a year old, I want to guess. So I
Really?
mean, it's a fairly recent attack, but to me, the T suggests one of two things: either an immense great white, or if you want to look for a prehistoric shark, there was a fish that was around the same time as Megalodon, and is its arguably its ancestor, but they kind of branched off. So you had both species for millions of years. It died off before Megalodon, purportedly. So unless there was somehow some of them still floating around, which I kind of doubt, but its name was Ototus chubutensis. And actually, you know what? Here's a tooth from one right here. Always get mixed up with this thing. So if you notice it, it kind of looks like a white shark tooth, except it's broader, nice and triangular. See? So this is remotely possible, but I would bank most likely that we're dealing with a white shark that has gigantism, which is something the Discovery Channel, as far as I know, was the first ones that talked about that. And when an animal gets gigantism, they can grow to ridiculously large size. And I mean, like the American toad normally only gets to be around 4 inches long, but there have been specimens that have hit 8 inches that suffer from this condition. And I mentioned this in my book there. I used to collect these when I was a kid, these like predatory beetles. I forget the species, but they were literally like this big. And one day I caught one that was like 3 inches long, the exact same species, but just a mutant that was ridiculously big. I don't have it. You know, it was 50 years ago or whatever and stuff. But, you know, the point is, so gigantism happens. And when you have species that have indeterminate growth, like reptiles or fish, and for anybody that doesn't know what that means, indeterminate growth means an animal continues to grow all its life. So whereas mammals like you, I, gorillas, Bigfoot, etc., we reach a certain size, and then, except for growing out with too many trips to Golden Corral, yes, I got that. But anyway, we tend to be limited there. Whereas a fish, a reptile, they can continue to grow, albeit slowly, their entire life. So an animal like that that has gigantism, that growth rate sometimes doesn't slow. You know, maybe it's a throwback to the genes that used to exist for Chubutensis and Megalodon. I mean, we know that, for example, a shark's body design can survive at those exceptional sizes. So these white sharks, once in a while, perhaps are doing this. They're getting to be 30 or even 40 feet in length. And that's what are being seen. And there's a good argument for that, besides the tooth grooves I told you about, which you guys will see in the video when you know check that out. But the like if you had a breeding population of Chubutensis or Megalodon, you would need 500 sexually mature animals out there. That's the scientific opinion, at least. So if we had 500 40-foot sharks swimming around, you know, feeding on carcasses and everything else, they would be seen. You know what I mean? I mean, it would be just a matter of time. And they're not, which suggests that it's more likely a 1 in 1,000 example of a white shark just getting, again, as they used to say in Brooklyn, stupid big. You know, he was like stupid big, this fish, you know, and this type of stuff. Okay. And that makes sense. And I talked about this also because is that an animal like that is not going to be able to mate and pass on its genes. Why do you think that is? I'm literally asking you. I want you to take a stab
I,
at it.
I have one stab that maybe it cannot find a female to uh, take its
Handle his manliness.
reproductive organ.
Oh God. Well, you're not completely wrong. Okay. So it has to deal with how sharks mate. And white sharks, for example, mating is very violent. The male shark, which is usually a little smaller than the female, to be fair, Like if your female tops out at 20 feet, the male might be 17, something like that. Okay. But the male shark will approach the female and he will grab her by the gills and bite. And I mean bite enough to like tear into the flesh and grapple her down to the seabed to immobilize her. Like when a cat or a lion grabs the female by the nape before they procreate, that's kind of what they do. And he'll push her down to the seabed and
Do his thing. Do his
you
thing.
know, they don't
Yeah.
have mattresses, but you know what I mean. Okay. Anyway, claspers, and that's what happens. But the problem is that when you have this mutated shark with gigantism, it's a whole different dynamic. So let's just say, for argument's sake, that you've got a 32-foot male great white swimming around, and he approaches an 18-foot female. She's not going to want to get bit by that thing. She'd be killed, even as regenerative as they were. So she's going to hightail it out of there, like goodbye. And if it's the opposite, and you got a 40-foot female and a 17-foot male, he's going to be dinner if he tries to bite her. See? So unless you would get two of them that were both, sexually mature with gigantism to get together, and that obviously hasn't happened yet because we don't have a lot of these giant sharks around. Although there do seem to be more of them lately because I've documented like 6 now. So
Do you
never know.
think that that as we got about 2 minutes to go, before we got to go to break here at the bottom of the hour, do you think that there is, a reason because of climate change that this is happening, that we're seeing an increase in size, or is this just natural behavior where, I mean, at one time everything was huge and then it got shrunken down, and now maybe because of the way the earth is doing its thing, I'm not a scientist, so doing its thing is as scientific as I can get, they're starting to maybe grow bigger again.
Well, the climate change thing doesn't really fly because what's going on, in my humble opinion, and I even asked I was recently in Alaska, just last month, in fact, and I was talking to the old fishermen out there and stuff, and they had been saying, like, the Inuit elders had publicly stated already, like last year, the year before, that the sun is rising in a different location than it did when they were kids. And that's because every 10 or 20,000 years, the Earth shifts on its axis. So you're getting sunrise in a different place. See, and these fishermen all confirmed that. They even said like the Big Dippers altered and things like that. So what's happening is you're getting parts of the planet that were colder are now warmer, and warmer parts of the planet are getting colder. So ice that is melting in one spot is forming in another spot. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So, and I asked them, I said, have sea levels risen? They said no. And I'm like, okay. So, I mean, so that's basically what's going on there. So that's not really going to affect fish much per se. I think what's going on is we're just getting more aware of these fish, these really big, these mega sharks, and we may be getting a few more of them simply because of the fact that they're living longer. White sharks are a protected species, which probably helps in some places. And I would imagine they get so big that, like, these longliners, these people that are killing sharks for their fins, it's very hard to reel in a 30 or 40-foot shark. Like, remember what you said, what happened to your guys fishing lines and stuff?
Yes.
Same type of thing. See? So, I mean, to me, that would make more sense. So if eventually these things start to breed, maybe in our lifetime we'll get to see them firsthand.
Max, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. And this is something that we are very, very excited about, continuing on the conversation. Does Megalodon still exist? Is he in the Pacific, the Atlantic, the Indian? Who knows? We know it's not the Arctic. Way too cold. Way too cold. But nonetheless, Max Hawthorne from Kronos Rising is here tonight to talk Megalodon right after this. Stay tuned. All right, we're clear, buddy.
How long is the break?
5 minutes.
5 minutes. By the way, you do realize the documentary was about Megalodon being a scavenger or as it got older and stuff.
Yes.
Okay, I'm just because you keep talking about whether Megalodon's still out there. We're going to run out of stuff to talk about on that topic. I'm
No,
just letting you know.
no, we won't. I'm a
Okay.
professional, man. You've done this
All right.
before.
But I got all these fossils here to show you to talk about this stuff in the documentary in front of me if you want to. It's up to you.
Yeah, we'll do it. We'll do it.
Cool. I'll be right back.
Yeah. I am a professional. Sharks. Mhm. Remember, questions are going to come in hour 2. I am marking them down right now. Mennonite Abe, good to see you. And who else do we have here? Vanessa, how are you? TMI, what's happening? All right. Mm-hmm. Jamie McGahee, how are you? Welcome to SOR Chat. Thank you, Cryptid Huntress. This was made by the lovely and talented Pixie Lara. My Bigfoot hat. I'll zoom in here. Woo! See, it says Bigfoot Patrol Canada. I don't know where she got the patch, but it's freaking awesome. I love this hat. Good. All right. Who else is here? Lex Diaz. How you doing, man? That is funny. No politics, but this is funny. If Trump were a shark, he'd be called Megalodon. That's funny. Take the humor, Democrats. It's just being humorous. We don't need a bunch of Trump versus Biden crap in the chat room now, but that was funny. Thank you, Mennonite Abe. Appreciate that. The Debster, thank you so much for joining us and for adding to the super chat. Michael Arrington, you're late. Mark Sanchez and his Hawaiian shirt, you're late. We love you, though. Max is back. If you couldn't tell by the blue shirt in the camera, Max is back.
Lafayette, we are here. Oh, I forgot something.
Thurston Howell III, what's happening? Want to say thank you to Deb, Lori, and Louie for the super chats tonight. The super chat is a wonderful way to support what we do on this show on a nightly basis. Don't forget, you can join the Space Travelers Club. Hi, Lucifer. How you doing? Join the Space Travelers Club. The link is below in the show description. All right. And we would appreciate that. Abbott Hoffman, welcome to SOR Chat. That's, yeah, good to have you here, man. Maximus Hawthorne.
Maximus Decimus Meridius Hawthorne.
Is that?
Commander of the armies of the North, general of the Felix Legion, and servant of the one true emperor, Marcus Aurelius.
Very nice. Very nice. Love it.
Are we on, by the way?
On YouTube, yeah.
Oh, okay. You know, one of my brothers, my middle initial is E.
Yes.
Okay. And so one of my brothers, who is a bit of a, can I say a douche
Y-
on here.
Yeah, in this
Okay.
part, yeah, like in 15
Okay.
seconds, you can't though.
Okay. So he likes to call me up and he'll get my answering machine or my voicemail and he'll go, Max, Max E,
Oh no,
Max E Pat, like this.
terrible,
And
terrible.
every time I hear it, as soon as I hear oh, I miss this music.
I love this music. That's our theme song by Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Fall of the Art of Anarchy. Want to remind all of you for tuning in to Spaced Out Radio that we're glad to have you here, but we want to remind you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can join us on Patreon in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Max Hawthorne, author, researcher, and a man who knows how to work a camera, is here speaking about Megalodon. Does Megalodon live? Does it exist? Super sharks and more. If it scares you in the ocean, Max has pretty much written about it. ChronosRising.com is his website. Max, welcome back.
Thanks, big guy. And you know what? Actually, there is a megalodon in one or two of my novels. Since you mentioned the site, if you guys go on the website, which is cronusrising.com or maxhawthorne.com, go to the free book section, and there's a lot of downloads there that you guys can take advantage of and stuff. So good stuff.
You know what? I was in Whistler a few weeks
Mhm.
ago. Oh, gosh, about 5-6 weeks ago now. Walk into this gem store, and they
Mhm.
actually have some artifacts and skeletal remains of animals in there, which is
Mhm.
really cool. They have this one wall of megalodon teeth,
Mhm.
and my son is looking at them because, I mean, thank you, by the way. You sent my boy a great white shark tooth about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, and that was just, he still has it on his windowsill, and he just absolutely adores it. But they were selling megalodon teeth for $500 minimum a
Mhm.
piece. And I
Sure.
was like, you got to be kidding me right now. They had about 70 of them there,
Mhm.
right? And I'm just sitting here thinking, geez, when I was in Massachusetts, I could have bought one for $100. And here on the Canadian inflation, I'm at like 500.
Mhm.
500. I couldn't believe it.
Well, it depends on the size and the quality of the tooth. It's like honestly, there's a market for these things. It's like getting a diamond. You've got color, cut, clarity, all these things, inclusions, yada yada yada. With a megalon tooth, you've got things like, first off, is the point intact, the tip? How's the enamel? Is there a lot of peel? That type of thing. Is the root intact? How are the serrations? On the sides, are they chipped? Are they worn? Are they gone? That type of stuff. There's a lot of the things that go into it. You get a really prized, high quality tooth, and you're looking at, depending on the size of the tooth. I mean, a 6-inch tooth that's really great could be $1,000, $2,000 easy. You get a 7-inch tooth that's great, you could buy a car, and I mean a nice one. So it varies. There's a market for them. And every time
Really?
there's a hurricane, the internet, like the eBay, is flooded with them because it churns up the coastline, and they're exposed, and people are out there hoarding them.
Well, the funny part about it was
Mhm.
this past spring/summer, north of me, about a 4-hour drive,
Mhm.
there was this mom and daughter. They go out looking for fossils,
Mhm.
and they actually came across a half megalodon tooth up
Mhm.
here. And I don't think there have been single ones found, but like it's like only the second or third one that has ever been found in the northern reaches of British Columbia and Canada.
Mhm.
And they're thinking that when the ocean flooded over that it pushed the dirt, pushed it up here somewhere. But I couldn't believe that they were finding a megalodon tooth this high up.
Yeah, I mean, if you get a lot of flooding with like extreme storms, storm surge and stuff, that could happen. I could see it. I mean, like Florida, most of Florida though during the Miocene was underwater. So I mean, like we have property down there, and if you start digging right away, you find seashells, fossilized seashells, all sorts of stuff. It was all underwater. So a lot of places where they would spawn are rivers now, where those were like submarine channels a long time ago.
All right, so let's end the debate right now. Is Megalodon still swimming in the ocean?
Probably not. But like I said, we do have strong evidence for a mega shark. So the odds are it's like I said, listen, a 40-foot great white would be something to see, right? I mean, that's a shark the size of a bus. Who wouldn't want to see that? Not a bad thing.
No, I don't see it being a bad thing. I see it being a painful thing. Okay.
Well, yeah,
You
that's
know,
true. I mean, I wouldn't go swimming with it. I was actually, it's funny. Simon Pierce, the guy I was telling you, the marine biologist, Dr. Simon Pierce, but cracks me up. He's my go-to guy a lot of times when I find like some sort of marine mystery creature I cannot figure out, whatever it is. Okay. And there was this footage going around that people were saying it was like this 30-foot great white and all this stuff. And the shark had come up behind the boat and it was like staring at the boat. And then it kind of like veered off and then it swam away. And the interesting thing is that as it approached the boat, it didn't look like a basking shark. It kind of looked like a great white. But then as it turned away, you could see the body design and the dorsal, said it was a basking shark. So I asked him and he goes, "Oh, that's a basking shark." He goes, "You can tell by this, this, and this." And, very much more scientific than myself and everything. He goes, "But I will say its behavior was very unbasking shark-like as it came up behind the boat." And he goes, "And from the front, it did look kind of white sharky to me initially." He goes, "But I'm 99% sure it's a basking shark." He goes, "That said, would I have jumped in the water with it in front of it like that? No." You know? So, anyway, you get the picture.
well, it's funny because here
Mhm.
just outside of Vancouver, in the Georgia Strait and the Strait of Juan de Fuca used to be one of the largest basking shark areas in the world. And
Mhm.
back in the 1950s, 60s, we all thought that they were man eaters.
Mhm. Basking
And
sharks.
yes, and
Yeah.
so the rule of thumb back then was to the ships when they were coming into harbor that if you saw a basking shark, run it over. And the basking shark
Wow.
population took a giant dip. It's now coming back slowly but surely. But I mean, I couldn't imagine what it would be like. All of a sudden you see the giant fin, and if you don't know anything about sharks, and
Right.
you see a basking shark come underneath you, you're going to think it's a great white.
Sure. I mean, yeah. Luckily, I mean, times have changed. I mean, I'm an animal person to begin with. You've seen photos of our giant Siberian cats and stuff. In fact, today was Olaf's birthday. He's 4, but I'm surprised he hasn't come in here to make his presence known yet. But maybe later. But I mean, earlier I was like putting out the winter guard on the lawn and stuff, and this little toad, like an American toad, just a little guy, hopped out in front of my spreader and stuff. So I stopped, picked him up, rescued him, put him in one of the flower beds, whatever and stuff. But people are becoming more earth conscious, more aware of what's around them, that type of stuff. I mean, if we had a megalodon or even a mega great white swimming around, I'm sure it'd be great news and people would know it when they saw it. I mean, it's very distinctive. The fin shape would be different, the body would be a little different and stuff. Do you have those book cover images I sent you?
Yeah, let me bring up. We If we're going to use them, we have to describe them for our radio side,
Okay,
so that way they are able to understand what we are looking at here.
sure. If you want, I want to pull up the ones with the shark because this way, it's if appropriate for the topic and stuff. I mean, if you're okay with that.
Yeah, yeah, I have no problem with this. Let's. It's here. Yeah, there we go.
Okay, well, that's actually the cover for my debut novel, Cronus Rising. Um, that's Cronus Rising. Can we?
Oh, you want me to go back one?
Yeah, go back one. Freeze. There we go. Okay. So this shows a battle that takes place in that novel between a megalodon shark named Ursula and this very large pliosaur, which is a giant prehistoric marine reptile. And these two end up on a collision course as part of the story. But you can see right away you're looking at a predatory shark there. You know, the body design, the muscularity, the fin shape, pectorals, dorsal, all that type of stuff. Basking sharks are a little more laid back in terms of their appearance and all that. And that one that was right after that, um, Cronus Rising Kraken 2, I think it is. If you want to hit it one more time, go forward one or
All
not.
right. Yeah. Let me just get there.
There
There
we
we
go.
go.
Yeah. So this is really a really cool image because you've got a 6 foot high dorsal fin sticking out of the water, and the artist they put like a life preserver, that round donut shaped one, they throw to people, right next to it, to which it dwarfs obviously to give an idea of the size of the animal. So even though it looks like regularly, it's like, oh, it's a shark fin, but then you see that that's a life preserver that's 30 inches wide or something like that. You know automatically then you're dealing with a very very large shark, and obviously fin shape and all that too. So. I just thought, like, the audience might enjoy it.
Yeah, I enjoy those too because looking at a life preserver to a 6 foot dorsal fin is kind of intimidating, and it just yeah, I don't care what anybody says. It just keeps me out of the ocean a little bit more, fiction or
You
not.
you would be very brave to jump in the water in front of a predatory shark that size. Honestly,
I'm
I
not.
mean, unless it had a full stomach, it would probably just go, oh, hors d'oeuvres, and just keep going.
Hmm. Yeah, no, not me, not me at all. But I mean, if there is one creature in the ocean that I would love to see back, it honestly would be the megalodon. I mean, there's still plenty of food sources with whales and
Hmm.
other sharks and squid and giant squid and everything. You know, how do we know? Like, granted, we haven't seen one in thousands of years. Okay, we can only assume due to science because there is no skeleton outside of the mouth and the teeth.
Hmm.
How do we really know that something like this is extinct and not living in certain areas of the ocean that are not being studied?
We're talking about megalodon again, right?
Megalodon or any type of creature.
Well, it depends. I mean, well, you'd have to zero in on one in order for to discuss the parameters. In terms of the squid thing or an octopus, for example, I am a firm believer that we do have gigantic cephalopods still in existence today. There's just a lot of sightings, historical sightings, and things like I covered that in Monsters and Marine Mysteries. There's a lot of old incidents where they had woodcuts and stuff like that, and eyewitness reports and drawings from the 1800s and stuff, where they said that a whale was fighting a sea serpent that was wrapped around it. But the evidence suggests that it wasn't a sea serpent, it was being attacked by an immense squid, a squid big enough to eat the whale. In fact, there are instances where huge sperm whales have been dragged under and killed by the supposed sea serpent, which was in fact a squid big enough to prey on whales. So there's a lot of stuff. I mean, the one of the more famous ones is the USS Stein incident, which I think is like 1980 or 79. I don't have all the stuff in front of me, and I can't remember what I had for breakfast today. But the Stein was a destroyer, Knox class, like 450 feet long or whatever it was, left out of San Diego. And after it left port shortly thereafter, and the stories vary, but the one that stands out is the ship shuttered and then its sonar went non operational, which for a warship is a big problem because now they're blind out there. So they had to go back to dock. And when they got back there and they had to go into dry dock, they sent divers down. In fact, the diver was on a show I'd seen. The destroyer has what's called a sonar dome. Do you know what a sonar dome is?
Yes.
So it's underwater. So for people that don't know or from the radio, the prow of the destroyer, the warship, is that nice sleek curve that slices through the water, and under it submerges a bulbous part, looks like a knob or a round, front
Yeah.
there. That's the sonar dome. It looks like a battering ram, but it's really sonar. And that emits passive and active sonar, different frequencies, so the ship can, see what's around it, track incoming threats, everything like that. Okay. So the sonar dome is covered with what's called a no foul rubber coating to protect it. And this coating, I believe like 70 or 80% of it had been shredded. And it had all these rake marks in it. And they had these little claws broken off in the rake marks. And the claws happen to be like the teeth that line the suckers of Architeuthis, the giant squid. But these claws were 5 times bigger than the largest known specimen. So the belief is that the Stein passed over an immense squid, which in my book I discussed this. It must have felt that the Stein was an enormous sperm whale, which would have been its natural enemy when it was younger and smaller. And it lashed out, aggressively attacked the ship, thinking the sonar dome was the whale's head. The sonar dome, I think, is about 26 feet across. So that would be a very, very big sperm whale. I mean, stupid big, as they say once again, okay, impossibly large. But anyway, it lashed out, it ripped into it for a second, realized this was not flesh and blood, broke off, etc. But it blinded a warship, a modern warship. See? So there are, in my opinion, at a very least, ginormous cephalopods out there. And they can live in the abyss. That's what they do.
No, I can totally see where that would be, happening. I mean, I could just imagine the size of some of these things that are out there. I mean, Max, the idea though that we have these super great whites that you
Hmm.
believe in around 40 feet. I mean, has there been any evidence for people who may not have heard previous shows with you on? Has there been any evidence or video that shows these sharks being around? The only one that I could kind of remember was, a number of years ago where
Hmm.
a 15-foot great white was caught
Hmm.
up in one of the nets surrounding an Australian beach. And it was dead after a bite mark that went spine all the way wrapped around to the other side of the spine in one big bite mark.
Hmm.
And they
Well,
said that had to be 20 foot plus.
the a lot of the evidence that we've got so far is bite scars from bite marks and things like that. Like I said, like Simon's whale shark, the Tudors with that humpback that's on in the documentary on my channel there. But there are other things. Like I spoke to a guy maybe a year or two ago, and if you guys go on my website on the blog post there, look up the blog post. There's one about like what attacked this great white or what bit this great white. And this guy is a professional marine photographer who specializes in white sharks. And he was filming and photographing an 11-foot white shark named Seabatch. That's what they named her. She was known. And she had this enormous bite scar on her that went like from her gills to her I think the way past her pectoral fin, and that bite was, I think, 29 inches wide, 29 or 30 inches wide, which suggested a 28-foot attacker. So again, you've got evidence of a gigantic shark, and there's tooth grooves on the scarring and stuff. So something came up and blasted her from the side, and she probably squirmed and got away, avoided like the full power of the bite, let's say, and was lucky enough to get away with wounds that healed. So that was just another one. That one didn't even make the book. I mean, in the book, there was the Beast of Briar Island shark is in there, the Galapagos giant is in there. There's a whole bunch of mega sharks in there and stuff. So good stuff, you know.
No, and I could see that, that there is bigger predators. We had a gentleman on, Justin Decker. He's a cryptozoologist out of North Carolina, and he grew up in Colombia, where his
Hmm.
dad was a missionary, and he grew up in the northern reaches of the Amazon, and they had the green anaconda up there. And
Hmm.
record has the green anaconda only at about 33 feet. And like his dad would say many a times, he saw anacondas well beyond like 50 feet long. Like we just, we can only average or see the average size. But how come we're not seeing a lot of these great whites or these mega sharks or anything bigger closer to shore where we have a good understanding of tracking sharks now?
Well, the first thing is if one of these sharks dies, they usually don't wash ashore. They don't float. These mackerel sharks need to keep swimming their entire life. If they stop swimming, then they drown. They're what you call obligate ram ventilators, meaning they have to keep moving with their mouths open with water to go over their gills. Okay. That's why, like, for example, if orcas want to kill a great white, all they got to do is grab it by the tail or the dorsal and hold it still, and it'll start to suffocate. A lot of people don't realize that, but it's a scientific fact. So these animals, then they don't float. And when they die, they usually sink to the bottom, and that's the end of it. So we're not going to get the teeth, etc. But a big shark like that is not going to be close to shore. That's where you get your smaller ones that have that niche, a little closer in and stuff. That's their territory. A larger animal like that is going to need larger prey. It's going to need whale carcasses. It's going to need other things that it can eat. It's not going to find its bread and butter close to shore chasing sardines and little sea lions and stuff like that. It needs a big meal. So you're not going to have that, but it's just not going to happen.
The main witnesses who, and we got about 3 minutes to go here, the main witnesses who live on the sea, okay, who are crossing the Atlantic or the Pacific all the time with cargo ships and everything, what are they seeing? Are they reporting large anomalous creatures, or how does that work? Because they're the eyewitnesses. They're up close and personal.
I mean, I spoke to one guy from the UK who he was working on the Carnival Breeze, I believe was the name of the ship. In fact, I even photographed the ship down in Florida after I interviewed him. But and he was like a physical fitness instructor for the Carnival Breeze. He was up on the top deck, and he got called over by a couple of people in the swimming area, and they asked him, "What's that animal down there?" And he looked down, and there was something pacing the ship, swimming like, I don't know, a couple 100 feet away from the ship, if that, and swimming along next to it. And he explained, he was like, "Max," he goes, "I have seen whales of every kind, sharks of every kind. I know what a whale shark is. I know what a basking shark is, a sperm whale, blue whale, finback, blah, 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 blah." He goes, "This was none of those." And he described it as having, it was very, very dark in color, like almost black or dark gray with a little bit of like white flecking or something. Not white, but paler flecking. He said it had a head like an alligator, very long head, tapered, but a very broad snout, thick neck, huge shoulders, as he calls them, which he thought might have also been pectoral fins because they were a little deep down. He said that the part he saw, which would have been its head, neck, and its back, but not all of its back, was at least 50 feet long. And that didn't include the rest of its hindquarters or its tail or anything like that. And it was keeping pace with the ship, which I checked their speed, and underway they usually do around, I think it was like 20 or 22 miles an hour. It's in the book. Like I said, I don't have like a photographic memory for all these things, but it's around 20 something miles an hour. And he was able to compare it because when you look down, like the lifeboats, which were 37 feet long, were right there. And this thing dwarfed just the parts of it that he could see. He said it was so big, when it surfaced, it looked like a submarine with the water like flowing off of its back and stuff like that. And it was an air breather because as it got near the surface, the water around its head turned white, which was it releasing thousands and hundreds of thousands of bubbles of oxygen as it came up. So it was a reptile. It didn't spout like a mammal or a whale. It spouted like a crocodile does or a sea turtle, whereas they're approaching the surface, they let their air out like this. But it let out so much air because it was so big that it put out this white cloud around its head. And it swam next to them. They were looking at it, and then it was looking at them or whatever, and then it veered away. And he actually got a picture of it as it was swimming away, as it turned. And then...
Let's continue this story. When we return, hard to believe we're already through 1 of 2 hours with Max Hawthorne, author, researcher, ChronosRising.com or MaxHawthorne.com are his websites. We continue with creepy ocean creatures right after this on Spaced Out Radio. Okay, we're clear.
How long?
We got 6 minutes, my man. 6 minutes. I'm going to just put you in the green room, and I'm going to step away for a quick break here, and I'll be right back.
You got it, brother. Thank you.
All right. Be right back, everyone. Don't go anywhere. All right. I am back. Max is back. Hello, Bobo. What's happening? Skip to Maloo. How are you? And who else have we missed here? PJ Town, welcome to SOR chat. And I think I'm caught up now. All right, we got about a minute here.
By the way,
Hey.
if I wanted to show, sorry.
Go ahead.
If I wanted to show somebody, like give them the email, URL to watch the show, where would I get that?
I can type it in.
Okay. Like in private?
If you want to put it in private chat, then
Whatever
I'll
works.
copy.
No, I'm asking you, like, what URL would I give them to tune in right now? Live?
Oh, okay.
I can't give them StreamYard, obviously. So
yeah, you don't want that.
Yeah.
Let me just pull it up here. My channel. Here we go. I'll put it in the private chat area here. There you go. We got 5 seconds, everybody. Thank you to Deb, Louie, and Lori for the super chats. Very much appreciate it. Here we go.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with Dave Scott. Follow Dave on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio and on Facebook, Spaced Out Radio Show.
Here we go with hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears wherever you are on this beautiful planet we call Earth. Hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Uintathere. Uintathere is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and join us on Patreon in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Author, researcher, and filmmaker Max Hawthorne is here. The existence of Megalodon. Is the Megalodon still patrolling the oceans? We don't really know. Max doesn't think so, but he thinks there's a super shark out there, double the size of great whites, that could be the next monster in the salt water. Max, welcome back.
Thanks. I'm enjoying the show so much I got popcorn for it.
Yeah, thanks for sharing, by the way. You know, I'm batching it this week, and yeah, I had A&W for dinner tonight.
Hey, listen, it's not a bad thing, you know?
No, I'm going to tell you, their spicy habanero chicken burgers are great.
I got the skinny pop. They say if I eat it, I'll get skinny. It's not working. I keep eating it, and it's not working. The more I eat, the worse it gets. When does the skinny kick in?
I have no idea. But I know that during the day, I've been kind of transforming my lunch. I eat sunflower seeds for lunch now. And I'm actually starting to trim down. So I'm in 2 full meals a day. Then at lunchtime, I eat sunflower seeds. Right now, I'm on dill pickle. They're really good. Really good. But that's okay. Hey, my man, I got some audience questions here that I kind of want to pass on to you.
Like the guy that says, I can't stand the mouth sounds, Max. the chewing.
Let's go to Doug Shelby, the Doug Shelby, who is asking, speaking of Megalodon, Max, how much do you know about the gigantic shark they call submarine?
I know that submarine, drop my coaster, sorry, is a fictitious shark that was made up for the Megalodon mockumentary by the Discovery Channel, and doesn't exist, but there have been rumors or stories told for many years, like in the Sea of Cortez, of a shark called the Black Demon, which is supposed to be a very large, dark colored shark, which I guess might have been the inspiration for Submarine.
Hmm.
But I mean, it's a cool name, any shark that's as big as a submarine, all that, you know.
Do you think there are sharks out there above that category of that 35-40 feet? Could there be?
The biggest bite that I know that's documented is Simon's, and that suggested a 42-foot animal approximately. Many years ago, I was sent a photo of a humpback whale swimming, and it has a ginormous bite taken out of one of its flukes, and that bite, complete with tooth notches of flesh hanging and stuff, is almost certainly a shark bite. But it's impossible to say how big the bite is because we don't know how big the whale is. And since I don't have the copyright release information for it, I wasn't able to use it in the book either. But I mean, if it was a full-grown whale with 12-foot flukes, then the bite is gigantic, 5 feet across at least, which is
Yeah.
megalodon size. But I don't know. So,
I
but I
know
mean,
the photo you're talking about. That's
mhm.
that's for people right in between the dorsal fin and the tail. There's this giant bite out of the back of the whale, and I always wondered that as well, whether or not as the whale grows, that bite is going to look larger. You
No,
know?
no, I know the one you're talking about. Actually, that's not. That's the one I called the Perth Canyon Colossus shark, but
Oh, okay.
that one is in Monsters and Marine Mysteries, and that bite is on the top of the peduncle in front of the flukes, like in the tail region, let's call it. Okay, and there's that old scarring, and it was in that documentary that they did on Discovery. It called like a 35-foot white shark in the kill zone or something like that. And they had I think Curtis Jenner was the one who took the photos. He's from the whale research, I think it's called, or something facility. It's in the book. I apologize. I don't, like I said, I can't remember everything, but he sent me some amazing HD photos, including stuff that wasn't in the documentary or anything else. And I was able to do number crunching and stuff. And what you were saying, there is some truth to it. It's not that the bite actually grew, because it doesn't work like that. Um, I mean, think about it. If you have like a scar on like I have a scar on my foot when I stepped on a rusty steel beer can when I was a kid, and my foot grew, the scar didn't grow with it, So the scar stays the same size. It's not like it magically enlarges and, or with a bite with the tooth marks enlarge and everything like that. So in this case, though, what happened is that, and there's all these diagrams in the book, people should check it out firsthand, is that bite, like let's say it started off like this, like a semicircle, which is kind of like what a shark bite looks like. You know what I mean? If you see one on a manta ray or something like that, it looks like Pac-Man took a bite, like a
Yes.
cookie cutter. Okay. So now this happened when this whale was a calf, when it was younger, and the shark attacked that region trying to immobilize the whale. That's what they do. They want to get rid of your means of propulsion so that you can drown or bleed out and then they can eat you. Okay. So in this case, it didn't get the spine, so it wasn't a fatal strike. But that what happens is as the whale grew, the tissue around it enlarged, and the whale also, with the up and down movement of the flukes like that and the flexion, it caused that semicircle to flatten like that. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So in other words, if we have if this is the bite originally, okay, shaped like this. I'm trying to do this. I don't know how I can do this, but shaped like that. Okay. And as the whale grows under it, it goes like this, especially with that up and down movement of the tail all the time and flexing. See, so instead of being deep like that, it goes like that because the whale's growing around it. So now you look like you have a larger bite when it's really the same bite that's just kind of flattened out. So, but because if you thought about it, that portion there was just the front of the bite itself would have had to have been 6 or 7 feet wide, at least, ridiculously big. And such is not the case. So really, it probably came from a shark between 26 and 30 feet was my estimate. So still a large fish.
Paul here in Australia says the biggest shark I've come close to was a 14-foot tiger which surfaced next to my longboard when I was a lifesaver. I know it was 14 feet because the board was 14 feet, looked as big as a bus to me. I mean, that's I don't want to do this, man. No.
And
No,
they are
that's
man
just wrong.
eaters. So tiger shark is, would not be my first choice for a shark to swim with.
No. No shark is, man. No
You know,
shark.
I had a hilarious experience when I was like in my mid to late 20s or something like that. And I was getting into fishing really heavily. And I was doing, trying my hand at lure fishing from shore. And I was with my then girlfriend. I forget the name of the beach. It was somewhere in New York. And I was using a bomber lure, a black one. And I had my fishing rod. And I was wading out to the water about, I don't know, right up to my chest practically. And I was winging that sucker out there and working it back in and winging it out there and working it back in. And all this time, crabs have been like picking at my toes and stuff. And, crabs are always looking for a meal and stuff like that. And I kick one away or stomp on them or whatever it was and everything. And then all of a sudden, I see something, a dorsal fin, following my bomber lure. And it was some sort of shark. I don't know the species. I didn't know much about them back then, whether it was a brown or whatever it was. It had a head about yay wide, definitely big enough to do damage, and it was like following the lure. And I'm reeling and I'm like, hey, so as I'm following the lure is coming to me. So the shark is coming to me. So why am I still reeling? So I stop reeling about 30 feet away and the fin goes under. And a split second later, a crab grabs my ankle, like that. And I went, like I screamed. I threw the rod and I literally ran on water. Okay, out of there. I was like, and my girlfriend was like, what's the matter? What happened? I was like, oh, nothing. I was like, I lost my rod. Can you go get it?
Wow.
Not my finest moment. Too many Jaws marathons for that.
Yeah, especially that. I'll never forget, a few years ago, I did a conference in Provincetown, Massachusetts. And, this is literally where the Pilgrims started to land. And the energy around there was incredible. And we're right on the point of it. And there's the Atlantic all around us. The first time I've ever seen the Atlantic Ocean. And the weird part about it was, they have these rock and cement walkways that you can walk out onto, that separate the water. I don't know what the hell they got them there for. I don't think it's to tie up boats or anything. But right before you go on these, there is these giant signs that do not swim in the water. This is great white territory.
Mhm.
And I'm just thinking, as I'm walking across these rocks, and they're pretty wide. They're like 15, 20 feet wide, these rock piers. And all I'm thinking is Jaws could jump across this.
Mhm.
Not a problem. And grab me and get me on the other side. But I kept going. But I mean, the drop that goes, like, you can't even see the bottom of these, right? And I'm just thinking, like, what the hell is under there? And like a couple weeks later, you read up in the area that there was another great white attack, and I'm like, no. This is why I don't do it. I'm sure Donnie's just getting sick of me saying that, but I don't really care. I don't. I'm alive.
Better
on
safe
Monday.
than sorry. You never know. There might be a crab out there with your number.
You got that right. You got that right.
But to be fair, though, I have fought a man-eating alligator with a fishing net, so I'm not completely without backbone.
Well, you know what? You're still braver than me, man. Yeah, if there is poisonous snakes, crocodiles, or alligators and sharks around, aka high Florida, Georgia, New Orleans, Texas, and all the southern states, I'm not going there. Yeah, like, have a nice life. I'm not going there. There's just no way.
I'm sorry, I was like reading some of the comments on the side at the same time.
Let's go to Randy here. Randy is asking, what can bite a 30-foot great white shark in half? anyone know? Is there anything out there right now that we know of?
Hmm. Maybe that giant thing that was swimming next to the Carnival Breeze, which was dubbed the Carnival Cruise Monster and is believed to have possibly been a 100-foot mosasaur. So that could.
Do you still think that leads to another question? Do you still think that there are certain species of dinosaur that are still out there?
Well, I don't want to get like nagged by any paleontologist, so I'm going to have to preface this by saying that mosasaurs were marine monitor lizards and are marine reptiles and technically not dinosaurs. So I have to like preface what I'm about to say with that so that I don't have to hear any guff or anything like that. But there are many reports, especially out of New Zealand and such, claiming that people had incidents, even their boats have been attacked by like crocodiles with fins has been the description, ranging in size from 12 feet to incredibly big. One tried to nail a jet ski, all sorts of things like that. So, I mean, at first I was like, but then after I interviewed this guy with the Carnival Cruise Monster, you start to wonder. I mean, the mosasaurs were around up until the KT extinction. Is it possible that there were certain parts of the globe where the oceans did not freeze solid from the impact winter? Might a tiny population of them have managed to hang on and still eke out an existence? I don't know. I'd like to think so, though.
Because we hear these reports, like whether it's like in the Congo, Mokele Mbembe, or you
Mhm.
hear of sea monsters, whether it's Loch Ness monster or the Ogopogo or
Mhm.
Champ in Lake Champlain. I mean, they all seem to have dinosaur type characteristics.
Mhm. Well, I mean, anything's possible. I'm a big believer that Champ is most likely some sort of very large sturgeon or something species, which would make sense because they're not discovered very often. But I could be wrong. I'd love to be proven wrong. Um, the the Loch Ness thing, in my opinion, is almost certainly Wells catfish or sturgeon or both, that are making their way into the loch when fish are spawning, taking advantage of the fish spawn to get a lot of, bait, meals in one place, that type of thing, and then get out of Dodge. I mean, so many of the historical descriptions of Nessie sound like a Wells catfish. One description was that the thing had antenna, which would be the whiskers. Another guy described the size and shape of the mouth, which sounds exactly like a Wells catfish. He was right up on it. Then there was one where the woman described like a 7-foot creature thrashing on the shoreline, and it thrashed, and flopped back in. And we know Wells catfish will dive out of the water to eat pigeons and stuff. See, so all these things, when you put it all together, even the first historical sighting where this, the monster was attacking someone, and then this priest, told it to go away, and it did, or whatever. Wells will defend their nests. They had that on river monsters, where girls were swimming in one lake in Europe and they got yanked under by something. They were terrified. Turned out to be a big Wells, and they were near its eggs, and it was doing what a mother or father fish will do, trying to scare away, potential threat. So, I mean, if you put all these things together, that's what the Nessie thing seems like to me.
See,
With
I
all due
think
respect.
I think Ogopogo
Mhm.
is a sturgeon. And the reason why I think it's a sturgeon is because, that's the start of the Columbia River that eventually uh, separates the Washington State from Oregon. And
Mhm.
there's a giant white sturgeon population in that river as well. So it really makes me wonder, if we're really dealing with sea monsters or, runaway sturgeon, so to speak.
Oh, that does make perfect sense. I mean, I've seen some of the, oh gosh, I'm not sure which one of these. I think it's, what do they call that one that's supposed to be off the surface, I'm sorry, off the coast of Canada or something?
The
Cadborosaurus.
Cadborosaurus,
Yeah,
yeah.
and I've seen some of the videos there, and those are either beaked whales, or what's that other one? They have like it looks like a sperm whale head with the long narrow snout. You can see the video, you see it spouting and everything like that, and then that characteristic square head comes up and all. I mean, it's disappointing, but that just seems to be what it is. But I mean, the Megalodon thing, the thing is that, and that big documentary that we just did that came out on my channel was the question about what Megalodon ate and whether or not it was a scavenger, and examining the Megalodon scavenger theory. And the thing is that if Megalodon was a scavenger, the adults primarily, then we would certainly see them if they were here, because whenever a whale died, you would see these 40, 50-foot sharks feeding on the carcass at the surface. They would not be able to hide. See, they'd be in plain view. You'd see 4 or 5-foot dorsal fins, and you'd have these giant bust-sized predators cracking open the rib cages of that dead whale to get at the juicy stuff.
That makes sense. All right, we got 3.5 minutes here before we go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Max Hawthorne is our guest. And let's go to Neil. Can great whites crossbreed with other sharks?
I have never heard of that happening, but then some sharks do interbreed. So, in fact, it's funny that that question, because when I was talking with Simon about that basking shark that had the face that sort of looked like a great white, I'm sure it's not possible because one's a predator and one is a plankton feeder. But I was like, imagine if like a white shark mated with a basking shark and they reproduced and they had some sort of hybrid, that kind of had the best of both, or what. But anyway, but I've never heard of anything like that, but it would be interesting.
All right, Neil following up again. Do you believe in mermaids, Max?
I do not. I was very turned off by the Discovery Channel special on that, because they had me convinced until the end, until the video footage and stuff showed up and all that. And I was like very disappointed and upset. But I will tell you one thing. I have seen a Bigfoot swimming in a lake in Connecticut that I watched many, many years ago for like 15 minutes as it was diving for crayfish. And they swim with both legs together like a mermaid, or people in mermaid costumes.
A Sasquatch.
They don't do the kick like we do. The legs were moving like this as it went under, like that. And let me tell you, when it saw me finally and knew I was there and it took off like a missile, it was an incredibly fast swimmer. So,
there have, in between the islands of Vancouver Island and the mainland, there have been alleged sightings of Sasquatch swimming across the bay to get to Vancouver Island and the other islands in between. Mm-hmm. So that actually does not surprise me at all.
No. And they can hold their breath for a long time, because when this thing went under, it would disappear for a couple minutes sometimes and then come back up. Yeah. I thought it was a giant orangutan back then. I was like, when I finally started seeing it was some sort of like huge ape-like thing, I was like, gosh, one of these rich people on that side of the lake where there's some houses must have a big giant pet orangutan. They let it go swimming in the lake. That was like my explanation. I didn't even know what Bigfoot was back then. This is like 30 years ago, and then over time I was like, son of a gun, but it was something to see. Very muscular, huge, thick reddish brown hair like an Irish setter. Something to see. Wow.
Yeah, we got 1 minute to go. Yeah, last Bigfoot I saw was a year ago this coming weekend. He was my son, myself, and a couple of my buddies. We all had an encounter about 100 yards away from us with a 10-footer.
Wow.
He was big and beautiful. Big and beautiful.
I'm surprised, like somebody were like, guys, we all jumped and we're like trying to get him. I got his ankle. He's just walking along.
He paused. It was in the moonlight that we saw him on a logging road, and he just stood there and stared at us. And to this day, we don't know how he left, because we were watching him. We have no idea how he disappeared, how he vanished.
As you were staring at him, he disappeared?
Yeah.
So he literally like blinked out, or just faded out, or
when he no, not like that. But if he would have went to his left, we would have heard him. If he went to his right, we would have seen him. If he came forward, we would have seen him. If he went backwards, we would have seen him. But he just vanished.
Wow.
The mysteries of the weird high strangeness. Max Hawthorne, author, researcher. We got him for another 30 minutes here on Spaced Out Radio. We'll continue to take your questions as well if you're in our chat room. We'll be back right after this. All right, we are clear. Let me see if there's any more questions coming up from the audience here.
By the way, do you like my cross?
It is beautiful.
You know what it is?
A cross?
This is a genuine Viking cross. This is from the 9th or 10th century. So
No
it's
way.
between 1,000 to 1,200 years old. Genuine article of a Viking crucified.
No way.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. It's bronze restored, obviously, because when they pulled it out of the ground, it was like, a gunked up, rusted up mess and all that. But this is the genuine article. Yeah. At least 1,000 years old.
Beautiful. How'd you get your hands on that?
Well, I happen to be part Viking, and I happen to know a lot of people. You see, one of the things about being an avocational paleontologist is you tend to have a lot of connections in the fields, including antiques, antiquities, fossils, things like that. I still got all these fossils sitting here. We haven't touched on anything yet. I mean, we're talking giant shark teeth. We're talking whale bones. We got all sorts of stuff here.
Geez, there's this. I watched this one YouTube channel. These two young guys, probably in their early 20s. They go scuba diving or diving in these streams around Florida.
Wait, are we still live? Because somebody just said show the cross up close.
On YouTube, yes. That's what I mentioned. We're live on YouTube.
Oh.
Here, I'll there.
I don't know. I'm gonna have to get close to the camera for this. Let's see. Da-da-da.
That is awesome.
So I'm sitting here saying stuff, inappropriate things, God forbid. That's great. Woo.
Supernova, Dave, can you elaborate on the Bigfoot disappearance?
Thank you, Tim.
Well, when we were watching it, if it would have went to its left, it would have had to go. It would have had to go over a bunch of fallen trees, which means it would have made noise. If it went to its right, it would have had to cross the logging road and go up an embankment of about 7-8 feet, which we would have seen. If it moved closer to us, okay, like walked towards us, we would have seen it. If the only exit way that I could think of that it took was that somehow it went backwards into the darkness without us noticing. And that's the only logical. Or it had one of those elevators in the dirt that let it sink on down, and that was it.
What color was it?
It looked black. I mean, it was 9:45 at night when we saw it, right?
Well, I mean, that makes sense, though. If it was stepped backwards into the shadows and it was black, it would be easy for it to fade out on you.
Problem is, we didn't see it moving backwards.
Thank you, Mike. Damn. Oh, I said the word. Oh, my God. Sorry. I was repeating what he said there.
Oh, that's all right.
Darn Saxons. Those darn Saxons. Yes. It's not cheap. That's for sure. I have a lot of stuff like that, though. I also, because I'm also part Italian, I have this Roman Silver Legionnaires medal from 1260 AD that was awarded by Emperor Gallienus to the Third Imperial Legion of Rome. So I wear that one sometimes. I got a lot of cool stuff like that.
Yes. Christo Douglas, welcome to SOR chat. Where's your dirty, filthy dingleberry pal? He is working this week. New stock coming in. And there's someone else in here. Christian girl who loves Yeshua, welcome to SOR chat. And big thank you to Horror Realm, Debster, Louie, and Lori for the great super chats. Very much appreciate the love and support. You could also join the Space Travelers Club on Patreon. The link is below in the description on YouTube. As well, do some shopping at spacedoutradio.com. We got good stuff there. We do. We don't have ugly swag. It's one thing I'm proud of. We don't have ugly swag. It's all nice. We got 23 seconds, my man.
Well, sounds like a good date for me.
Mm-hmm. Hey, you've almost made 2 hours. You were whining about the 2 hours, and we're almost done.
Well, I got popcorn now, so I'm okay.
Okay, fine. Here we go, everybody. Jeremy Jones, how you doing? We passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Good to have you with us. My name is Dave Scott. Always appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can join us on Patreon at the SOR Space Travelers Club. Here we continue on with Max Hawthorne. We have him until the top of the hour, and we want to make sure that everyone gets a chance to get a question in if you're in our audience. So make sure you put them in capital letters. Max, how you been doing, man?
I'm good. And John Doe, when it's a break, I'm going to eat my popcorn, buddy. You're just going to have to deal with that.
That's right. You eat that popcorn. You eat
That's
that
right.
popcorn, buddy. Hey, I make the rules around here. And if Max Hawthorne wants to eat some popcorn, he can eat some popcorn. That's right. Let's go to Sweet Tony D out of the UK. Okay. Can you continue the story about the two guys in Florida diving into water on YouTube? I don't know what story that is. Do you know, Max?
Not a clue.
No idea. Oh, those guys. Sorry. Yeah, I watch these guys on YouTube where they go through these streams and they're filming actually weekly, sometimes bi-weekly shows where they come across alligators and stuff, but every now and again, but they are finding all sorts of whale bones and megalodon teeth and shark teeth all over these streams, just sticking out of the ledges of the water. It's amazing how they've found these honey holes of ancient treasures from these creatures, man. It's really cool. And then you go to, like, I think it's South Carolina, where you can, they've got like this gravel pit that you can dig in, and there's apparently filled with all sorts of prehistoric teeth, from megalodon to all sorts of stuff, man. So it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. All right. Let's go here. Neil's question again. Do you believe in mermaids? Did we answer that one?
Yes, we did.
Okay. Let's get rid of that one. The Unknown wants to know, the documentary called The Wrath of Submarine Shark If in Darkness is amazing, real or not. You don't believe it's real, do you, Max?
No, they had actually, if you Google it, you can look it up and you'll see that submarine was, I don't call it a hoax, but it was crafted for that Megalodon mockumentary, as it's called, Megalodon, the shark lives, or something like that. So they had that in there, and it's just, it is what it is. They put a lot of fake stuff together for that show. Like, they took those U-boats and they put the shark fin in the tail, and it added to still from the footage to make it look like there was a 100-foot shark out there. And then they had the CGI thing of the half of a whale like been bitten in half and stuff. It was all like stuff like put together, concocted to, just like the mermaid thing, which I was a little upset about. With the cave drawings of mermaids fighting people and the mermaid skull they had, and all this stuff. I felt violated.
I'm sorry.
That's all right. I get it.
I'm sorry.
I have popcorn when I feel violated.
Next question. What is your favorite marine monster?
Those would be the pliosaurs I write about in the Cronus Rising series. You can check it out on Amazon or on my site. And I told you there's a free books thing on there, so take a shot at it.
Do you believe they still exist?
Pliosaurs?
Yes.
Sadly, no. I'm holding out hope, of course, that there might be a few mosasaurs floating around. But yeah, I mean, it'd be nice, but unlikely.
Oh, you're so positive. You're so
No,
positive.
I'm a realist. Is Deep Blue real? Yes, the Deep Blue, the shark is real. I do not believe, however, based on some photos I've seen, that she is legitimately 20 feet in length. I think she's probably more like 17 feet, but that's just me. But she is very fat.
She's been
She's a
seen in a number
chunk.
of areas,
Hmm. Yeah.
and there's this, I forget the female diver's name, but she goes
Ocean
swimming.
Ramsey.
Yeah, Ocean Ramsey. She goes
Hmm.
swimming with the great whites and all
Hmm.
sorts of sharks. And she actually swam with Deep Blue one day
Hmm. Yeah, several
down in
times, I think,
Hawaii.
actually.
Down
Yeah,
in
but
Hawaii.
that's why I was able to. I looked at a photo of her swimming with the shark from above, so you could see both of them from the dorsal. And if you map out her height, which was easy to find online, into the shark's length, it doesn't show a 20-foot animal, in my opinion. But it's still a big shark, and she's so fat. She looks big.
Yeah, she is
A
massive.
chunk.
She's a healthy eater, that's
Yeah.
for sure. And not not Ocean Ramsey. We're talking Deep Blue. All right. Lucifer wants to know, Max, do you believe in the Loch Ness monster?
I believe that the odds are it's almost certain that most of the historical and even modern sightings are representations of very large predatory fish like the Wells catfish, which was stocked all over Europe by the Victorians, and or the sturgeon. It's not the white sturgeon. I think it's the Atlantic sturgeon. Both of these are believed to get into the loch. Even one of the top researchers has said this, and I believe they get into the loch to feed on spawning fish like the resident trout, things like that, which all jam up in the same area. I know this because when I used to catch channel catfish in the spring, for example, they'd get all these like minnows would be spawning. Like you'd have 50,000 minnows in an area, and all these big channel cats would just swim through the spawning fish with their mouths open, like feeding blue whales, eating krill, and gorge themselves. And so a Wells catfish or a sturgeon could take advantage of the same thing. I find it no coincidence when you see these sonar hits of what they say, oh, it's a 20-foot something down there. It's always when there's tons of fish symbols on there that look like spawning fish. So that's what I believe Nessie is.
Let's continue on. Let's go to, let's see here. Luscious Jules, who is asking, are there any giant saltwater snakes?
Not that I am aware of. I did have a guy that I interviewed whose uncle, who passed away in the Red Sea, saw what was an enormous snake-like creature, and which we called the Red Sea serpent. After going over the sighting in full detail, et cetera, and all that, we believe he actually saw a plesiosaur, or that's what it sounded like, at least, a long neck plesiosaur whose head and neck had come up out of the water.
So, if that was a plesiosaur,
Mm-hmm.
then once again, I'll ask you again: do you believe that some dinosaurs or some dinosaur type of species
Mm-hmm.
still exists in areas of warmer water? Maybe.
I believe that there have been credible sightings of plesiosaurs in the past, several that I'm aware of. The Alvin incident would be the other one. And if that was the case, and they weren't cases of mistaken identity, then that would be wonderful. If there were was a population of plesiosaur out there, that would be great. They are live birthers, so they would be giving birth in the open sea. They wouldn't be crawling ashore to lay eggs like sea turtles, so you wouldn't see them there. So I don't know. I'm open-minded. Let's put it that way. I'm an agnostic when it comes to plesiosaurs surviving. I'm holding out hope. I refuse to say no, absolutely. I don't want to say I believe it. So I'm hopeful. Okay. That's
Okay,
the best you're
so
going to get.
okay, and if you're hopeful, which I think
Hmm.
is positive, but if you're hopeful, what areas of the world are they? Are they in that mid-Atlantic area, right near the equator? Are they in warmer water, colder water?
Well, the two sightings I'm aware of is the one which was like I said in the Red Sea, and the other one was the Alvin. I think was in the Caribbean somewhere. I don't know off the top of my head, but it was a pretty deep area that they were down the submarine. So, but I mean, if they're warm-blooded animals, we know that plesiosaurs, pliosaurs, etc., were warm-blooded. They could pretty much go where they wanted. They would have blubber, adipose tissue, just like a leatherback sea turtle, to keep them warm. Being warm-blooded, in addition to that, I mean, they can go anywhere. Realistically,
They could. They
yeah.
absolutely could. All right, let's see who else we got here. I believe we have a question from Major Lee, who is asking, "Hi Max, do you think whales represent a higher non-human intelligence?
What does that mean? Higher non-human, higher than human intelligence, or do I believe whales
Are
are
they
intelligent,
alien?"
extraterrestrial?
Sure.
No, we have fossil records showing cetaceans go back tens of millions of years. So evidence.
Aliens could have been here tens of millions of years ago.
I've heard they've been here for 270 million years. Some of
Mhm.
them, yeah,
I
like
I
those
heard
reptilians. You got to watch out for them guys.
well, I heard that they have been here for 271 million years.
Are you serious, dude? Now, wait, I want to know because you get a lot of people on this show. All right.
Yeah.
So these reptilians, okay, that people have claimed to have seen and encountered. Okay. I know they say like they range from 6 to like 10 feet in height and all this other stuff like that. And I've heard some that their skin is green and others different colors. I want to know what color their eyes are. Has anybody ever told you that?
I've seen the eyes.
You've seen the eye? Wait, you've seen a reptilian in person?
Um, Not in person. I had an
Uh,
experience this summer where it was projected into my mind.
really?
Yes. And the skin was very from a fluorescent to a dark green around the brow,
Hmm.
and the eyes were reptile like, and they were a an orange I have never seen before.
Interesting.
And
What shape were the pupils?
they were the slits. Yeah. So let me explain what happened here so you understand.
Hmm.
We were in the forest doing some filming. That's
Hmm.
about as bland as I could keep it.
Hmm.
And I was doing the Estes method of trying to communicate with whatever was in the forest that night.
Hmm.
And I had a blindfold on,
Hmm.
and I did not hear anything. So, are you familiar with the Estes method?
No.
Okay, so what it is you put a blackout eye cover over your eyes, so you're it's sensory depriving. Okay,
Hmm.
so take away your sight, and then they put headphones on you that
Hmm.
put a radio signal that's ticking, a constantly moving radio signal. And the theory is somebody will stand beyond you and ask you questions, but you can't hear them. And
Hmm.
then the voices of the spirit or whatever is around is supposed to answer those
Hmm.
questions, but you hear them and you just spout out what is said. Problem was, I never got any words.
Hmm.
Okay. But what I started seeing with the blindfold on was
Hmm.
images, very clear images. And I started getting a really bright orb on the left side of my eyes.
Hmm.
And coincidentally, when that orb appeared, they put the cameras to the sky, and they actually had a white orb coming down at us at
Hmm.
that moment. And I kept on seeing the faces of alien grays, and then the reptilian eyes came in. It was extremely trippy. Extremely odd.
And the what do the scales look like?
They were small. Kind of like a rigid eyebrow would be on an alligator. That's what I was seeing. All I got was the one eye. I never got two eyes, only one. And I believe if I look at it again, it would have been the left eye.
Cool. Thank you. You've proven yourself to be a highly useful mammal.
Well, I can be at times. I can be at times. By the way, there was a question in the chat room about whether or not you've seen a UFO before.
Yes, I have.
You care to describe it?
Sure.
This would be the place and time.
I actually discussed this on, oh my God, whose show was that? A couple years ago. It's like one of the first times I was ever interviewed on a show like that. I can't remember his name. But anyway, and they had this guy that was the like North American UFO boss or whatever. You know, like there's this organization for UFOs and all that. You know, so he wanted me to talk about it. And this was around, I was like 24 years old. And I was down in Philadelphia visiting family at the old house there, summertime. And this would be Southwest Philly. And I was standing out front, leaning on the fence, mulling over some stuff because there'd been some tragedy in the neighborhood recently. I don't want to get into details. And, you know, pitch black night sky. And, you know, there's a Philadelphia airport isn't far from there. I mean, not close, but it's in the area. And you would see, like, you know, planes with their navigation lights here and here and here. And back then, a commercial airline pretty much flew similar speeds to today, around 500 miles an hour. And I was looking up and seeing planes and planes and planes. And then I saw a single white, glowing, non-blinking light, bright, above the rest of them. And it was hauling butt across the sky, going from left to right. Okay. It was like easily 3 times as fast as every other plane up there, which is what drew my eye to it, because I thought, ooh, it's a fighter plane. You know, I was very excited because I had never seen a jet fighter flying before. So I was watching it, you know, and it was really moving, and it was going across. And then all of a sudden it just went the opposite direction. There was no deceleration. There was no turn. It was just like a ricochet. And then, you know, like literally like this and like that. Okay. But at 1,500 or 2,000 miles an hour. And I was like, whoa. And even now, as far as we know, we don't have the technology that could do this. This would have been 34 years ago or more. Okay. So I described this to this ufologist, and he said, you know, it's funny. He goes, we figured this was around like August or September of that year. And he said, I would have said you were full of, you know what? He goes, but it just so happens that like a month or two later, I saw the same thing in you know, not far from there. He said he was looking up and he thought he saw a satellite falling down from the sky, and it was coming down, and then it just did the exact same thing. Came down full, you know, just change of direction, like no turn, no deceleration, etc. And also he saw the same thing, not the exact same thing, same time, but the same type of movement, etc., that I did. So, you know, he accepted it as fact. I mean, but that's what it was. There was no little, you know, men, no grays. I wasn't taken aboard their ship. I was not probed. You know, I did not have extramarital relations with an ET or anything like that, you know, but I saw something flying at incredible speed that changed direction instantly and broke the laws of physics as we know them.
Incredible.
Yeah,
Incredible.
That's what happened.
That's awesome. You got aliens now. You totally got aliens.
Oh. You want aliens? Because that's how you get aliens.
That's how you get aliens. Just
that's right.
spot them up here. Let's go over to Mr. Toothbrush, who's asking, do you think the black demon shark of Mexico is real?
Well, let's put it this way: if it's one of those great whites with gigantism, and it has dark skin, dark hued, if that's a legitimate color, then why not? I mean, it's possible. A big shark like that could easily make a living appropriating people's baits, stealing tuna off people's lines, all sorts of stuff like that. So it could pose a threat, or at least make a major nuisance out of itself. So I'm not going to say no. I mean, there have been a lot of sightings of it. I think, submarine was inspired by that.
Yeah, that's one that I've wondered about, because this one seems to, it's amazing how the legends grow, where it's taken down ships, small, I shouldn't say ships, but smaller boats. It's collided with boats, and it seems to be just one pissed off shark, that's for sure.
Well, you never know what's out there. I once was fishing in Port Charlotte, Florida, near Boca Raton Pass, and I had on a Goliath grouper that was maybe 100 pounds, and something like took the fish, and just there was a 70-foot deep hole near there. I guess whatever it was came out of the hole and grabbed it. I got slammed into the side of the boat. I almost lost the rod. It screamed off. There was like 100 feet of 500-pound test steel cable, was the first like 100 feet of the line to protect against, like reefs and stuff like that. And then it was attached to 400-pound test mono. This thing broke the rod in half, almost pulled me over the side. And I was a pretty strong kid back then. And when it ripped off all the steel line, and when it got to the mono, it snapped it like nothing. And then it just took off, and it left a swirl. Like when a big fish moves suddenly, there's an upheaval of water, and the swirl was the size of my office where I'm sitting right now. I mean, it was big, like 13, 14 feet across and the other way. And I just stood there and the captain goes, "What the heck was that?" I was like, "I don't know. You're the guide. What do you think it was?" And he was like, "That must be one of them 800-pound groupers everybody says they see, but nobody can ever catch." And that's what we decided it was. So big grouper ate the small grouper and broke his fishing rod. His indestructible, guaranteed for life fishing rod. Snapped like a twig.
Chaser has a question for you. There was that tagged great white shark that seemed to swim real deep over in the Atlantic, and then they believe that it was eaten by something much, much bigger. Apparently, potentially swallowed alive.
I know we only have a couple minutes, but I would suggest, if you're not going to get Monsters and Marine Mysteries, which has all of that in there, go on my website and look up Super Predator, and it has a ton of stuff in there. But long story short is there's a lot of evidence that suggests that it was a ginormous species of piscivorous sea turtle that ate that shark. But, to get into all the details, the anatomy, the body temperature, the swimming speed, all this other stuff like that, we'll never have time to cover it. But if you go on there, there's multiple blog posts on there. The book has the whole thing in detail also, including like photos, stills from the film of what it was believed to be or could be the turtle. That was cited by Gary LaMotta filmed by him back in like 1969. So, guy filmed the turtle 38 feet long.
Wow.
Yeah,
that's incredible.
It's all Super 8 footage, but it's I enhanced a few frames and they came out really great.
We've got 45 seconds left for you tonight, my man. Tell everybody where they can find your books and more information on you.
Sure. If you want to find me personally, I'm on Facebook, and that'd be facebook.com/whatever it is, Real Max Hawthorne. A lot of fake ones out there. I don't know why. Same thing if you want to find the YouTube channel, just Google @Real Max Hawthorne, and that'll take you right there. You can see the Megalodon documentary that we just did, as well as the Mega Shark documentary with the evidence of that thing we talked about. And the books, there's a free book section on my site. Amazon carries all the novels, Audibles, all that other jazz like that. Enjoy, and let me know what you think.
All right, Max, thank you again for being on Spaced Out Radio and talking Megalodon with us. Very much appreciate you. Always have a home here on the mighty SOR, my man. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Coming up next, Steve Stockton kicks off hour number 3. with a weird story from Among the Missing. Then our resident Timbit, Tim Senor, will be here for the UFO Report. Jam-packed hour number 3 coming up next on Spaced Out Radio. Stay tuned. All right, my man. Thank you so much.
It was my pleasure, brother. Thank you so much. Have a great night, man.
You too, brother. We'll talk soon.
Later.
Bye-bye. Max Hawthorne, everybody. Thank you. Thank you very much. I'm going to take a quick break. We'll be right back, guys. I'm waiting for an update to see how Iron Maiden was for my son tonight. Hello, Zochito Richards Paez, or Zochito Paez Richards. How are you? Paisley Town will be a guest here soon. Mm-hmm. Derek Galloway. Hey, there's Random Gee. Random Gee has returned. The hell am I wearing? I'm wearing a toque. It says Bigfoot on it. The lovely and talented Pixie Lara made this for me and gave it to me in Vegas. I've been waiting for the temperature to get cold in order to be able to wear it. It's very thick and woolly. It's awesome. Hello, Aaron Baca. How are you? And thank you, Cat Chaser, Horror Realm, Debster, Louie, and Lori for the great super chats tonight. It's a wonderful way to kick off our month and your love and support of Spaced Out Radio. Also, if you haven't already, join the Space Travelers Club. Come on, people. Minimum $5 a month. The link is down below in the description of this show. Oh, I bet it was a great show too, Mike Rivers. I'm sure he's got the horns up. What is the temperature today? Right now it is 13 Celsius, 55 Fahrenheit. And got a little clouds and clear skies. Perfect night to go Bigfooting. Here we go.
Would you like to connect with us? Head to spacedoutradio.com for all your latest show info. Now, back to Dave Scott and SOR.
Third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio is now underway. How y'all doing? My name is Dave Scott, your host right here. Where's the most tinfoil? Want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on Odyssey Radio, TalkStream Live, and KPNL. All of our archives are free. Join us, will you, at youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. You into there. You into there is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Our website is spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can join us on Patreon at the SOR Space Travelers Club. It is that time of the night where we say hello to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing and Another Creepy Story.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. There's a spooky tale about some children who appeared unnatural and unsettling to a group of hikers on the AT. The hikers had hiked for miles and set up camp in a particular spot. They were met with an unusual and eerie sight when they woke up the morning after a peaceful sleep. They discovered that their campsite was enveloped by dense mist that failed to dissipate despite the sun shining. As they gathered their belongings, they heard children's laughter emanating from their surroundings. The group was almost done packing up when a group of children, led by one parent, walked out of the mist and past them. These creepy children asked the hikers where they were going, and someone responded they were hiking along the Appalachian Trail. The kids started laughing, and one replied, "This isn't the Appalachian Trail," as they kept walking off. The hikers spent the whole day hearing the children giggling around them from the woods. Next, the Bell Witch haunting. Not too far west of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, the town of Adams, Tennessee. John and Lucy Bell were farmers who settled in Adams around 1803. They lived peacefully on their land until 1817, when the family began experiencing odd and unexplainable occurrences in their home. They began hearing noises such as scratching, knocks on the walls, and chains being dragged across the floor, says Pat Fitzhugh, A friend of mine, who's an author and historian who's written 2 books about the events on the Bell Farm. Over time, the noises became more intense and more frequent. Then, the Bell's 2 daughters began complaining of something trying to pull at their covers and pinch them while they slept. The Bells chose to keep quiet about the unusual occurrences in their home for more than a year because they were concerned about the opinion of their church community. However, the harassment persisted, and eventually, John Bell confided in one of his neighbors about the strange incidents. This neighbor visited their home and experienced similar disturbances. As word spread, the news of the events became known throughout the eastern and southeastern regions, according to Fitzhugh. Visitors started flocking to the Bell Farm to witness the eerie occurrence. Some were inquisitive, while others aimed to disprove the Bell's claims. Fitzhugh says, over time, it seems this thing, whatever it was, fed off attention and people's fears. It eventually developed a whispering voice, and within a year, it could speak audibly. People have written down and passed through generations accounts of what this thing allegedly said, says Fitzhugh. It liked to argue religion and make fun of people, except for Mrs. Bell. It stated its purpose was to kill John Bell. The poltergeist was named Kate after it declared itself to be the witch of a woman named Kate Batts from the area. Following John Bell's death in December of 1820, Kate claimed responsibility for his demise, citing his evil nature as the reason for her actions. The Bell Farm gradually returned to its usual routine until Betsy Bell, the family's youngest daughter, announced her engagement to a nearby resident named Joshua Gardner. Kate reviled her scorn and disapproval about Betsy Bell's upcoming marriage, says Fitzhugh. She talked Betsy into breaking off the engagement with Joshua. A short time later, the poltergeist said she would leave but promised to return in 7 years. 7 years later, Kate did return, visiting John Bell Jr., who was not living at the Bell Farm then. They allegedly talked for 3 nights about the past, present, and future, explains Fitzhugh. After that, the Bell Witch bid farewell and promised to return in 107 years. That would have been 1935. Some said she returned, and some said she didn't, says Fitzhugh. Now, the real story behind the tale of the Bell Witch has never been uncovered. Some thought it was an act of the supernatural, says Fitzhugh. Skeptics accused the Bell family of doing it by knowing how to act and using ventriloquism. Some thought they did it for money, but the Bell family never charged a cent to anyone staying over in their home. Though Fitzhugh has considered many theories, he says he doesn't know what the Bell Witch was. When you look at how long the story has endured and how many people have put forth theories, doctors, lawyers, and preachers back in the day signed eyewitness manuscripts saying they witnessed these things, says Fitzhugh, it makes it more than just your standard folk tale.
All right. Thank you to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing for another great report. And if you want more, all you got to do is go to youtube.com/Among the Missing. And Steve has hundreds of stories just like that for you to listen to for free. All right. As we head from the mysterious to up in space, portals, wherever the hell they're coming from, it's time for the UFO report. Here comes little Timmy Sedor.
Nobody's gonna know. They're gonna know.
All right, my man. You're shaded in darkness tonight. You're shaded in darkness. I mean, glow stick. I don't know is a power out down there or what's going on?
I burnt out my cine lamp, so yeah, I'm gonna have to replace it. But I'm working with my effect lighting tonight only, so sorry about that. I'm in the dark a little bit, but I can still read and talk UFOs.
Well,
So we're good.
that's good because your simulated lighting honestly is working like crap. It really is. Well, but that's okay. It sets a mood. And hey man, I was out at the Sasquatch site on the weekend.
Oh, tell me more.
Yeah, I was out on the Sasquatch site, and for some reason in that area, I'm telling you, man, action only happens between like 8:00 and 10:30. Before that and after that, it is boring.
Huh.
Absolutely boring.
That's odd. What do you account for that activity
I
slot or
don't
time?
I don't know. Gotta try and figure that out. I gotta talk to Robin McRae about it tomorrow night when she's on for the cryptid report, but, uh, it's just trippy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's odd. So we'll explain the activity you got between 8 and 10:30.
There were a lot of orb sightings. A lot of orb sightings, a lot of,
Oh.
like, fairy type sightings because we don't have lightning bugs in our area. So
Hmm.
something was lighting up, the quick flashes, and I saw one flash coming down, big flash coming down, uh, the one of the logging roads, and it was so brief. I thought there was a vehicle coming, but there were like because it almost looked like when you take a big dip in the road, the headlights kind of bounce from the shocks.
Yeah.
That's what it looked like, and
Huh.
nothing came by. And we were hearing cracks in the forest around us on both sides, like tree branches just going snap. We heard one rock or two being thrown and hitting around, but nothing that was um, too entertaining, shall we say.
Well, what do you connect those orbs to that you're seeing?
I think it's part of the entire energy of the creature, man. I As stupid as this sounds, okay, and I'm gonna put some tinfoil on right now, okay. As stupid as this sounds, I think that before the Sasquatch show up, they send in the orbs, like almost like an energy vortex to check out the area
Wow.
before they start coming around.
So are these it's interesting that you're saying orbs because sometimes their orbs are connected to ET and sometimes they're connected to Sasquatch. And I mean, can they look similar? Do they act similar? Is it the same thing?
Same thing, at least in this area, it would be. We
Hmm.
didn't see any UFOs. The moonlight was too bright. It was really drowning. It was a day after the full moon, so it was definitely drowning out the stars. But we did see Starlink, which was kind of cool.
Sweet.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I did one little experiment that failed. Well, so
Okay.
so far is we were out there. We got there just before darkness, so right at dusk we got there. And the first thing I did was at the tree right by where we saw the guy last year. I put at about 6 feet high. I put a glow stick in the tree,
Okay.
and we were
Mhm.
there till midnight. And the glow stick never moved. I'm a little upset about that, but
Yeah.
it's not unexpected considering that if they were there, they've maybe never seen a glow stick before and may not have wanted to touch it.
Well, we had luck with the glow stick experiment when we were out there in the nowhere land.
Oh, did we? I didn't know.
You don't remember?
Oh, I remember. I just wasn't sure if we were allowed to talk about it.
Oh, well, I was just throwing just a nugget. Yeah, that was cool. So, I mean, we know the experiment works. The thing is, though, no footprints that we could really see around it to confirm that it didn't just fall by gravity. But at least, you know,
Well, Merle did see that shadow kind of pull it down. Merle did see
yeah,
that, but I
yeah.
don't think we got it on tape.
I don't think so either. But I'll tell you what, it works in mysterious ways. And the fact is, it's hard to kind of wrap your head around the orbs thing because it seems like sometimes it's Sasquatch, sometimes it's not, at least in the cases that you're talking about and that we've discussed. Um, and it's kind of interesting how they could be interlocked and connected. And the fact that you say it happens right before a potential Sasquatch, I find that really interesting. And is that kind of confirmed with some of the other researchers that you have interviewed? Did they also kind of come across that?
Sometimes. Sometimes, but I mean, Sasquatch research, I mean, it all depends if you're talking to people who believe in the woo or you're talking to the nuts and bolts people or the flesh and blood people, whatever you want to call them. They're
Hmm.
both going to have different perspectives on it. Anyways, my man, let's get into David Grush once again
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
because I don't know if you saw this 1 hour video
I
of
did.
him provided by Yes Theory on YouTube. But the one thing I didn't think it was a high quality interview. There was nothing in depth that is going to really shake you regarding it. Okay,
Disagree. I
but,
disagree.
but hear me out for a second.
Okay.
Hear me out. The one thing that I was really proud when I watched it earlier today was that I think they really did a great job at humanizing him. You know, uh,
Oh,
eh,
yeah.
showing his wife on camera, their 3 family dogs, what he has gone through, not since even before his name was let out. Like there was a couple years of this really building up to his coming out in public, and I thought they did a great job at really humanizing him to a side that we haven't seen from a lot of other people. We've never seen it from Lou Elizondo or Chris Mellon or David Fravor or any of these people, and these guys I thought did a great job of it. Your thoughts?
Yeah, 100%. Humanizing him, showing him as just a regular dude, going ATV riding, showing before he did the congressional whistleblower hearing and after, and definitely getting a little in depth. But I thought there was actually a few big takeaways that I had never heard before, and maybe it's just me, but I wrote down some pretty sweet nugs that I felt were pretty pertinent to the story. And so, just to dive kind of into it, about 10 minutes into it, he's talking about reprisals that he had, uh, had to go through before came forward as a whistleblower and after. So he discusses how his peers were, some of his peers at least were saying that he needs to stay away from this topic, and how some other people were trying to convince him that this was a legitimate topic. And some of the insiders he was speaking to kind of made it um, so close to the bone for him. And you could tell that it was impactful for him that he felt compelled to come forward. And it showed kind of some of the insight that he gave and went through in his decision process to come forward. And so, I agree that it humanized him, but, that 10 minutes kinda showed how, he personally had to struggle with this topic and had to kind of kick the doors open to be able to come forward, and people attacked his mental health, and obviously, they tried to pull his clearance at one point, and so he had to really go forward showing that he was serious about intelligence agency and keeping his security, and also maintaining his mental health and coming to terms with a lot of problems that he had, which is perfect. What else can he do? So I think he followed all of the rules there, and he showed his decision process in doing so.
Mhm.
And then, he definitely, the night before the whistleblower hearing, they did a very brief interview with him at literally as he got out of the vehicle before he walked in, and he let them know that the DOD had definitely, um, shut the doors down and said no to the closed door session that he had requested. And they really waited until the last minute to address it. So he didn't even know if he was going to be able to or not. And then at last minute, they were like, no. And in his opinion, he was calling that an obstruction. I felt that was pretty pertinent. And then the biggest mic drop moment, and in my opinion, this was big, that I had never heard before. At about 24 minutes into the interview, he describes a black triangular craft incident 300 feet in diameter that one of his very close friends, talked to him about, that this was a senior Navy official. It happened at a Navy base when, in first thing in the morning, he pulled into the parking lot. And as he pulled into this Navy base parking lot, a 300-foot silent black triangular craft just hovered static above him. And he talks that it had omnidirectional lights and it was silent. And then he goes on to say that there was ionizing radiation residue on his vehicle. So the top of his car appeared to have like UV radiation burns on the vehicle. And he got a little bit descriptive into one of these witnesses cases that came directly to him. So this was one of the more convincing cases for him, and it obviously motivated him to come forward. This is one of them. And then in the final few minutes, 15 minutes of the interview, Gary Nolan talks. And in my opinion, this was massive, showed on film, and discusses the sources of alien artifacts that were given to him by Jacques Vallée. And all four of those were pretty big, um, you know, drops, in my opinion, that came out of this video. I'm definitely gonna have to watch it again. I'm sure there's more nuggets in there, but that's what I scraped off the initial watch. Your thoughts?
Well, it's funny because when I was listening to that 300-foot craft, it almost sounded very similar to the case that that Congressman Matt, what's the guy who looks like a combination of Beavis and Butthead? Uh, what's his name? He's a
can't.
Republican. Matt. Why can't I figure his name out right now?
Oh, it's okay. Anyways,
But getting to the point is, during the hearings, he had stated that he had a number of people from his Matt Gaetz. Thank you.
there it is.
Lester Jules. Okay. He had stated that he had a number of military people come up to him talking about almost that exact same story of a craft the size of a football field that was hovering over the base in the early mornings. And I'm wondering if that's the same case that Grush had mentioned, but maybe didn't want to go public with it at that time.
Definitely possible. And maybe we'll get some more details. And who knows, perhaps there is some kind of evidence of that. Hopefully not just hearsay, but yeah, that was, for me, that was big, hearing it coming out of his mouth as far as part of the evidentiary library that he was considering when he came forward. And yes, it definitely tells you the circle of people that are talking about this. And then to end their conversation with Gary Nolan, I think showcasing and discussing all those alien artifacts that he's researching. There was a little mini briefcase with quite a few items in there. So it looks like there, could be results. Hopefully we get them publicly. But again, it was an eye opener for me because I didn't know that they had artifacts that they were able to reasonably research at this point and were willing to discuss. And, there was also a brief, looked like inside a restaurant, a brief forum that was taking place with some public that was able to ask David Grush some questions and answers there. And I thought that was also great.
I love that. I mean, too bad that the questions that they put on camera were real fluff questions, but I guess they had to be very careful with that. The other thing that I will say about this is he also gets into the fact that he didn't learn until his mid-30s that he was on the autism spectrum. And,
Right.
and that is something that, we hadn't had that confirmed until after he became public, a few weeks after he became public. So the fact that he addressed that, was very, very enlightening as well. And I also, like you, I thought it was very brave of him talking about how people were coming after him, his wife, the threats. This was way before the reports from the journal Ken Klippenstein, had made it into The Intercept. because this was filmed before that. So it's very interesting to see how it all played out. Tim Senor and the UFO Report continue on Spaced Out Radio. And when we return on the Mighty SOR, Timmy will get to the number of aircraft being seen. What do you got for us, Tim? We'll figure it out when we return. Random guys just chewing you up in the chat room tonight.
Yeah, he wishes that I had my spotlights on. I don't know what I did. I actually just got home, as you know. I was rushing to get home.
I know.
Worked out.
Almost stranded me.
Well, it was the difference between one old fashioned and 3 old fashions, right? So I had one old fashioned and came home.
Nice.
Maybe Friday.
Oh, no.
Who knows?
I don't know. Noel O'Brien, how you doing?
Some interesting theories floating around out there. Do you want to hear the latest?
Theories of what?
The theory of how these little UAPs are floating around.
Well, save it for the show.
Okay.
Save it for when we get back. Save it for when we get back.
Beautiful.
Works for me, man. Works for me. It just does. It just does.
With my camera being this dark, am I still coming through? I can't.
Yeah, you're coming through.
Okay. All right.
You's coming through, man. You is coming through. Don't you worry about that.
Looks like RG's got his streaming set up again. I'm reading in chat. This guy.
Oh.
He's gonna look all pro next time. Ooh.
Oh. That must mean the last haircut he got a part kind of cut into it.
You won't know if he's coming or going then.
Mm-hmm.
Walking at you backwards.
You got that right. Tim is coming through as a gray with big black eyes and a disembodied voice, sounding like Tim. That is actually kind of hilarious.
That would be creepy.
I still haven't got my my update yet.
Your Tim update?
No, my Iron Maiden update.
Oh.
Still waiting.
I'm seeing if I can find that that Hawaiian ghost photograph. Oh, I wouldn't be able to show it right now anyways.
No.
All right.
No.
I'll save it.
You save it, man. You save it.
What are you doing this weekend?
Back on your end.
I see that.
Yeah, that's big time on your end. What am I doing this weekend? I am, let's see, Saturday morning driving down to the Vancouver area so I can go, Chilliwack area, which is about an hour and 20 minutes east of Vancouver. And I'm going to drive down there and I am going to combat fish with the thousands of other fishermen out there for salmon because I haven't fished the river in 8 years. And I used to fish there between 4 and 6 times a week during fishing season. So I'm gonna fish the hell out of that river for 2 days And then I'm going to eat Thanksgiving dinner Sunday night and then come home on Monday and prep for the show. Because Canadian Thanksgiving this weekend coming up.
That's so cool. And you guys celebrate with salmon. Beautiful.
Oh, no, just this is the time of the year when the coho are running. That's what makes it fun. My first concert, by the way, in the chat room was Skid Row opening up for Aerosmith in 1989.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, it was a good show.
My first show, I think, was Bob Dylan and the Grateful Dead playing together.
Nice. Thank you, Cat Chaser, Horror Realm, Debster, Louie, and Lori for the great super chats. Here we go, everybody. Here we go with the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. Very much appreciate earning your listening ears. Reminder to all of you that if you've missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do me the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on Twitter at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and you can join us on Patreon at the SOR Space Travelers Club. We continue on with the UFO report. Little Timmy Senor, our resident Timbit, is here, and tiny, teeny, baby, weeny UFOs. What's going on with these, Tim?
I have no idea what. Kick it off. Are you reading something I should be reading?
No, you mentioned that you wanted to mention about these tiny UAPs that people are seeing.
Oh, okay. Well, it's not necessarily tiny or not, but I think the explanation potentially could be out there that people are looking into the fact that UAP don't seem to necessarily have to negotiate amongst the same physics that we do on this planet. And I think some of the theories out there have been that there's a force field or a bubble, a time warp bubble, if you will, even around some of the craft. If this is happening, and they can look like a glowing ball in the sky, but there's this, they're supposedly wrapped in this bubble that protects them from not only our physics, but time itself. And so they're kind of in stasis, is this theory. And so I just wondered what your theory was if UFO are subject to our physics. Do you think that it could potentially exist in this artificial warp bubble and not be subject to the same physics that we are?
Well, I don't think UFOs are a part of our current physics. I think they are a part of our future physics. How's that for being scientific-y?
And vague. Yeah.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
No, but I do believe that eventually once it comes out. Look, if we have craft, which I do believe we do, okay, and we have been able to successfully reverse engineer these craft, places like Raytheon and Lockheed and Boeing, they all will get a little piece of that, or I would assume they would. And they would be the ones who would be able to, potentially open up that can of physics and see what we are missing on Earth here that would be conducive to what we know as of right now. Okay. Now, where they're coming from, how they're getting here, how they travel, is it wormholes? Is it portals? Is it bending the space-time continuum? Or do they have to travel at 88 miles per hour? I don't know. I don't know how they're getting here. Okay, but the fact is, we are seeing things that we are not used to. where we could become more definitive on this is if we were ever able to, and we never will be, but if we were ever able to figure out what places like Lockheed Skunk Works is truly working on. How far advanced are we? Because remember what people like Random Guy have said on this show before, okay? And that is, we don't know, like, how do you put it? Humanity, and I'm paraphrasing here, humanity hasn't seen what is already being flown,
Right.
okay? And, you know, we know that that out of certain places that craft that people claim are UFOs are not, right? So we don't really know, or we don't have, the public is dumb when it comes to trying to figure out what is a UFO and what isn't. I mean, I've talked to Random Guy before about this, where he has stated that about 90% of all the craft that we see in the sky is human, one way or another, human created.
Yeah.
It's that 10% that we don't know. Okay, that 10% that has really messed a lot of people up,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So I mean, how do we even answer that question? I really don't know, Tim. What's
Right.
your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts kind of go to maybe another aspect of this. So, for all the wrangling, advocates for and against the serious investigation of UFO share something in common, right? They all focus on the question of whether the phenomenon is something that exists in nature, whether worldly or otherworldly. And so we don't conclusively know if UFO physically exists beyond the mundane, but we do know this: UFOs are social facts, right? Debate about them is transforming our politics and culture with effects that are largely overlooked. So, social scientists should weigh in on UFO now, and it's a task for whether they are a task for which they are well equipped. And so I'm reading from a current article from Scientific American that discovers and discusses this exact topic, because they not only offer effective techniques for assessing social change, but for decades, social scientists have been conducting research on such relevant topics as human technological systems, behavioral factors in manned space travel, public attitudes towards UFOs, and the psychological and cognitive aspects of sightings themselves. So I find that's really interesting to know that not just the psychological, but the psychophysical and cognitive aspects of UFO sightings are being studied. And so, to start, there are at least three pressing issues surrounding UAP that bear serious study and discussion: intelligence, trust, and research ethics. And once you start those discussions, you can get into the context of other aspects. But Dave, definitely, there's a social aspect to UFO, whether the phenomenon is real or not. Do you agree?
Oh, I would totally agree with you. It's special. Totally agree. I mean, we're dealing with things that are written right out of a scientific fiction book. I mean, we're dealing with things that we don't we can't even comprehend. And just because it seems so surreal or unreal doesn't mean that it isn't existing. I mean, look, most of us who are listening to this show grew up with the Jetsons. We expected by now that we'd have flying cars, which we do, but that they would be a hell of a lot more prevalent than they are today. We expected that, we could press a button and our toaster would somehow magically just make toast for the morning, and
Yeah.
scramble some eggs just like the Jetsons, man.
Yeah.
Each and every one of us expected to have a Rosie in our house.
Oh, if only.
If only. Absolutely. And eh, but life hasn't gone that way, unfortunately. And all the good secrets are being well hidden from us.
Yeah, it seems like the humans have focused more on war than sharing science and technology to benefit us all, like the Jetson lifestyle. Instead, we've gone into high-tech weaponry and secret space force and who knows what else. I literally have no idea, but you're so right. Where's my flying car, Dave?
I want my flying car, damn it. And I want more than the flying car. I want I want a Rosie robot.
And
And
those boots. He had hover boots, didn't he?
the hover boots were fun. Where's Cogswell Cogs when you need him?
Oh,
Let's
man.
just be honest. What the hell is a Cogswell Cog? Nobody really knows. It just made whatever the hell cogs were,
Yeah.
right?
What a subtle point to that cartoon, though, because that was like definitely imitating life at the time, and you could read it in Life magazine. People were really thought that they were going to have that right around the corner, the atomic age. People thought the atomic age was going to bring all kinds of scientific benefits to the home. And really, I think it was a massive letdown. We got television and that's about it. I remember my family getting a color TV. I know that sounds crazy, but having a television when I was a kid was a big deal and it was a luxury.
I remember having 3 channels, my man.
Yeah, I remember that too.
3 channels. I remember having to turn the television to channel 3 to flip the switch in the back to make sure your Atari 2600 was connected properly.
I remember that switch. Very well. Very RCA, very hip.
Very, very. I mean, I remember my dad's 300-pound television in the wood frame.
It's a
right?
commitment. That's right. Getting a new TV was a massive ordeal.
Oh my goodness. I remember my parents getting their first remote control TV.
Miracle.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And we all had to go in there and press the buttons. And oh my, to get to channel 90, press 09. Right?
Changed life forever right there.
Oh, I was a happy kid because I was the volume changer and the channel changer. It was fantastic,
Right.
but we have got some technology. I mean, internet,
I think the cell phone, putting a microcomputer in everyone's hand is pretty much that, and the internet is the biggest step that we've taken since we walked on the moon, in my opinion.
Yeah, I remember. I wasn't born during then. You were, 'cause
Yeah.
you're older than me. But I mean, I think we all kind of accepted a little bit more or expected a little bit more than what we have right now. Maybe this is why we're a little bit churlish about accepting AI technology as the way it is right now. You know what I'm saying? So
Indeed. But socially, I think it's been a topic forever. And I think that UFO, although fringe, has been somewhere in the parlance of reality for everybody. I don't think it would take too much to convince even the biggest skeptic, if they were shown something, technological or something like what I saw, or maybe you've seen that changed your mind about it, something, big. That's it. I mean, that's kind of these big steps that it's got to take. But
what would you like to see? Let me throw that question at you. What would you like to see if it's out there? What would you like to see advanced for the betterment of humanity?
Well, what I would like to see is something that initiated a massive amount of peace. And so something free energy that was given at the same time to everybody that solved a lot of problems for everybody. I would love that. I mean, if that was available, I think that would solve at least half the wars, if not all. I don't know, but free energy would definitely be a massive step. That's what I would love to see. If that could initiate peace, that would be the dream.
For me, I would love to see the technology of flight improve. The seating, okay.
You hate flying because of I get that.
No, but everybody, okay, I'm sorry, but in
He's like,
today's
"I want
world,
better services on these flights.
no,
Maybe better legroom,
legroom is definitely one of them. Okay. I
but
mean,
faster, right?"
if you look at the way they put the seating in the first like 707s, the seats were spread out.
Yeah.
Okay, you actually had leg room to stretch your legs. Today, you might as well not even call the back of the cabin seating arrangement. You might as well call it the cargo bay.
Yeah.
Okay. You sit in that last 20 rows, you're in the cargo bay.
Yeah, there's basically a net holding you in. Yeah.
Exactly. Okay. But here's my thing. I'm eh, every time I see an aircraft fly in the sky, okay, I look at that aircraft and I think, how antiquated is that technology? Yes, the technology inside to fly it has improved, but the shape of the aircraft is still the same. The speed of the aircraft is still the same. And with today's technology, I really don't believe, and I'm not a scientist by any choice of the word, okay? But there's no bloody way there should still be 19 or 21-hour flights going around this world, or even going from Vancouver to New York shouldn't take 6 hours
Yeah.
at this point in flight technology.
Yeah. The
And
flying wing, I mean, right? The flying wing, kinda like the, um, what would have been the Phoenix Lights, something massive like that. Forget about it. That'd be all window seats, nothing but aisle and window seats. Think about that, baby.
mhm. Now
Yeah.
I understand there's a cost to that because flying Mach speed is a very expensive process. Okay, because of the amount of fuel that it eats up. So in order to do that, you would have to, try and get some different type of energy on the plane
Yeah.
to create its speed or whatever, whether it's nuclear energy or whether it's something else, we don't know. Okay, but I just, it picks me, man. It picks my butt that that every time I'm at an airport to think I'm like, even if I were to fly down to see you, I'm still a 2 hour, an hour and a half flight away, right? Or to go to, if I wanted to travel to Australia, 19 hours, man. 19 hours in a tube, in a cargo bay of a tube, because I can't afford business class or first class. 19 hours in a tube.
Bring back the Concorde.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah.
Bring back the Concorde. But that's what I would like to see changed. And I think that, at places like Area 51, I think companies like Lockheed, Skunk Works, and other aircraft manufacturers that are working out there are being a little too greedy with the technology because they want that military dollar. And it has nothing to do with UFOs. It has to do with that military contract and that military dollar that equals into the billions for shareholders. And in the meantime, we still fly in 1950s style.
Yeah. So
I think
true.
it's ridiculous.
So
I do.
true.
That's what I would like to see change. We got 3 minutes to go. You
Cool.
got anything else for us, Tim?
So the new Liberation Times article just dropped today. Congressional UFO language debate and Washington's web of conflicts and interests. And so Christopher Sharp is talking about the complexity and the conflicts and grave national security concerns taking place over the UAP language, which could be included within the 2024 National Defense Authorization Act and has been created alleged divisions among executive branch colleagues in Washington, D.C. But may some of these apparent divisions stem from conflicts of interest? Well, firstly, let's look at Lloyd Austin, U.S. Secretary of Defense. As reported by journalists Michael Schellenberger, Andrew Moore, and Phoebe Smith within the publication known as The Public, sources have alleged that Austin is attempting to undermine the UAP amendment included in draft NDAA legislation. Sources have confirmed that to Liberation Times, and that these aforementioned allegations are indeed correct. So Austin, former board member of defense contractor Raytheon Technologies, which may have at least partially influenced his need to express concerns over the Schumer amendment. Dave, I know we can't get too deep into this, and maybe we can talk again on Wednesday about it, but I'll tell you, it's getting heated, and potentially with people working so strongly against this position with conflicts of interest as we're seeing, perhaps this debate is going to wage on. Do you have anything you want to throw at this?
Well, I think they got to clean the mess up. And, the other thing that I will say is this: we forewarned people, Tim, that when this subject became very political, okay, and politicians started getting, involved with UAP or UFO, whatever you want to call it, okay, that this subject was going to get ugly. It was going to get tainted. It was going to cause divides. I mean, we've seen a lot of divisions starting, especially with those politicians who are in major military areas, okay, like Mike Turner, where his, in his area is Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. And this is only going to get uglier as it continues. We also have to remember that outside of those playing the military game, there are a number of people who don't want disclosure for whatever reason it is. Maybe it's religious, maybe it's personal, maybe it's because they think it's a waste of time, or they don't believe in the subject whatsoever. We're still in a very uphill battle here with the politicians, and it's going to get uglier and uglier. And I think that's why many people, including the military and the Joint Chiefs of Staff, really want to push this back under the rug so that way they can shut a lot of people up.
Yeah, well, I think it's potentially a conflict of interest. If people have ties to outside parties, such as the former connections he has, or Austin had with Raytheon, that puts fears into people. It could potentially jeopardize national security if you are taking any outside source into consideration when you're making decisions. And so there's going to be a lot more of this coming forward. But the fact is, he's not the only one that's on the defense when it comes to this topic. A lot of people, like you're saying, are trying to squash it. And as we've even said here, politics are pretty dirty. We know it's dirty games.
Oh yeah, you got that. I love that. Politics. We're gonna make a shirt for that, for the Spaced Out Radio website. Tim Senor, thank you for another great edition of the UFO Report. We'll talk to you in a couple days' time.
Thanks, bud.
And big thank you to Max Hawthorne for a great show as well. We got Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal rocking in the background with Little Brother is Watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, LGAB, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on Twitter at hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends, we're watching. We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night. But soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, yep, we got room for them too. Good night. That was a fun show. Fun show. Good times. Good times, people. Give me a second here. Oh, Eddie was out twice. Nice. Very nice. There was Eddie. Nice. Looking very futuristic. So excited. Do. I'll be right back. Gonna make a quick phone call here. So don't go anywhere. I'll take your questions afterwards. And a good time was had by all, which is awesome. Awesome. So happy about that. Thank you, Lord William, for that great super chat, my man. Very much appreciate it. And Cat Chaser, Horror Realm, Debster, Louise, or Louie and Lori. Beauty. Beauty. All right. What else? Start the editing machine. Bear with me here, guys. All right. Let's get this thing going. Hey, sweet Robbie G, what's happening? Good to see you. Thoughts on what, Skip to Melu? Let me see. What else did you say in here? What did I miss? Thoughts on what? Flight of Icarus? No, I don't know what they played. I'll have to look at the lineup of songs. Apparently, it was a lot of their newer songs that they were playing tonight. But Eddie came out twice, and my son loved Eddie. So that's really cool. And the boy got the horns up a few times during the show. That's always important, too. Thoughts on my world? My world is good right now. My world is very good. Derek Galloway, you'll always be a winner to me, my man. You'll always be a winner. Lil Cam, it's not because I used to stay up 2, 3, sometimes 4 hours after the show, but it's just I get with my daytime job, it's beat the tar out of me. Nightlight walkers. No, that guitar is a Cort. It's a cheap Cort that my son already played through the electrical, so it needs all its electrical redone. Do, 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 do. Who's on tomorrow night? Geraldine Orozco tomorrow night. We're going to have a lot of fun with Geraldine, as we always do. See what she's up to, what she's going to get at for us. Right. It is that time of the night where we're going to say goodnight to each and every one of you. Thank you to our super chatters. Thank you to all of our space travelers on Patreon. It's a good way to support what we do. The link is down below in the description. Geraldine Orozco tomorrow night on the show, and we're going to be getting some new videos out to you soon and trying some new things. We got some good ideas coming up. Very, very cool. So see you all tomorrow night, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We very much appreciate the love. And don't forget to tell a friend. Thank you, guys. We'll see you tomorrow.
healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.